Yes, ma'am. Do you want it down?
All right.
Bring it down.
Hi, everyone.
Hi.
Hey. How's everyone doing? Good?
Let's try it one more time. How's everyone doing?
Thumbs up. I was just going to go thumbs medium down. Medium down.
This is the first event. We have to, get it going.
I am going to start off this event by just admitting that this week has been incredibly challenging for us Angelinos. And I just want to take a moment of silence for the Monterey Park shooting. And also because this year it started out with extreme police brutality against our Black neighbors. And we just want to acknowledge that in this creative space. Take a moment. And then welcome and center ourselves here. All right.
Awesome. Yeah, welcome. Y'all, we're really happy to have you here.
We are so beyond grateful that our artistic community is coming together back for 2022. Today's event is going to be a lot of information.
So much. But we're going to get through it. So.
And you have a team. Like, look around at the people around you. These are now all your friends and your supporters. Lois and I met at Hollywood Fringe and are now best friends and co-direct this festival together. And I literally could not imagine my life without the connections that I've made through this space. It is a supportive space. It's a space where we can show up authentically as ourselves. Even if that's good, medium, bad. And we're just really excited to kind of launch in, talk about this year, hear about your guys' projects, and yeah.
Let's get going. So we should introduce ourselves because we do have so many new faces in the room because this town hall, a lot of we have some new or some returning participants, but this is a big chance for new participants to really find out what the hell the Hollywood Fringe Festival is and what it's all about and how do you get involved. So my name is Lois. I am the co-executive director of this festival. My pronouns are she, her, and I am a visual description, a white woman with mid-length dark hair, currently wearing a black tank top and a green shiny jacket.
Hi, I'm Ellen. I'm the other half. My pronouns are she or they, and I am a white woman with brown hair and bangs, wearing all black today with a colorful white and colorful shoe.
We want to start off this as well by acknowledging that the Hollywood Fringe does work on the unceded lands of the Tongva, Quiche, Gabrielinos, and Gabrieleños. Our statement serves as a practice as we commit to furthering our connection to the indigenous communities past, present, and emerging. I am speaking too fast, aren't I? This is not new. We all grow here at Fringe, and one of my personal growth projects is going to be to speak slower. So maybe if I could get some help. My new friends in the Fringe family, if I start to speak at a rapid pace, can you just kind of do like a hand wave, like help me? I would appreciate it. I'm all about feedback, and I want to make sure I don't tire this poor woman out so much. Okay, with that, thank you to Zeke and the Hudson Theaters for hosting us today in this beautiful space. We're so happy to be here, and we're so thankful to our many venue partners who do partner with us, not just during the festival, but in all of the events leading up to it, so that we can do these events, so that we can all come together in community. I want to point out there is the Hudson lobby just below here, which is a newer space. They just reopened. So please, after this event is over, head over there, and they're willing to do 10% off for anyone here for Fringe. So grab coffee and let's have sort of post chat after this town hall is over. We do have interpreters here today, as we have no, because I am talking so slowly. But we will have them at every town hall, and then for our digital events, we will have auto captioning available. But if you do want a live interpreter at those digital events, just email us at support@hollywoodfringe.org at least 72 hours in advance, so we will make one available to you. We are being live streamed and recorded for Fringe TV. Hi, everyone watching from home. I think the last time I looked at the will call, there's at least 30 of you. So this is an exciting, it feels kind of like we're back to 2019. This is 60 new Fringers celebrating in community. So these are all of, the new participants. These are the people you're going to learn with and grow with Yeah. Fair enough. I didn't see any hands. Who's helping me grow here? So hello, everyone joining from home. We're so happy to have you here with us as well. How many of you are new to Fringe? I would love just a show of hands. Fantastic! Welcome to the family, everyone. So happy to have you. Who is joining us as a returning Fringer? We're so happy to have you back. Yes, the beautiful thing about the Fringe community is you have a really healthy mix of new participants and veteran participants who have been doing the Fringe for maybe 2 years, maybe 12 years. And it really builds a knowledge share and a sense of community where we're learning together, and the people who have been around are helping the newer participants. The newer participants are providing a new inspiration for the participants that have been here a while. So it's a really exciting way to really get involved at different levels of the festival. So Fringe is a huge subject, but today's focus is going to be on what this festival is all about, registering, which is going to happen in just a few days. That's going to open on February 1st. And then that getting started and kind of planning your Fringe experience. That's going to be the focus today. We're going to budget a little bit, but we will have a bigger event that's totally focused on budget and fundraising later. So we're just going to touch on that to kind of give you a preparation to get to that point. I want everyone to take a deep breath with me because today is going to be a big day. If you catch 20% of what we put down today, you're off to a good start. So know that everything is available on our website. It will be talked about at multiple events, and there are so many lifelines within the festival process that you will have a chance to pick up all of the things that maybe don't resonate today. So again, 20%, you can walk out of here feeling accomplished and like on track for a successful festival. So support at HollywoodFringe.org. I want to bring that up right off the bat. Support at HollywoodFringe.org. That is your new best Fringe pal. Wiley, who I believe is in the back. Hi, Wiley, is the wonderful gentleman who will be on that side of the computer answering all of your questions. If you have any issues throughout the process, if you just don't know where to find something, like it was talked about, we know that we gave a link, but where is that link? Email support. That is going to be your lifeline. We also have the supportal, support.hollywoodfringe.org. That is going to be like your Fringe tell-all. Every article in there has to do with the Fringe experience and has quite frankly been written because in the last 12 years, we get a question often enough, we make an article because that's clearly information that is going to be really valuable and needed. So that's going to be a good resource. And then Fringe TV, of course, we are live streaming and recording this event. And we have done that for the past, well, we haven't live streamed for 12 years, but we've recorded 12 years of Fringe workshops and town halls and events. So if you are new to Fringe and want to just do a deep dive to really feel out what that Fringe is, that tangible energy that you can't quite get in the words that we're speaking, then that's going to be a great resource to really kind of do that homework. Even listen to it like as a podcast, throw it on while you're cooking dinner or getting ready for the day and just like kind of absorb the information that way. We find that's really helpful to a lot of people. Also start following us on social media at Hollywood Fringe across all platforms. We try to make it easy. That's a great way to just get involved in the digital side of the community. And also you'll get updates. We'll put information on the website and in our newsletters, but then we'll send reminders out on social. So that's a great way to, oh yeah, I knew there was something coming up this week, and hop on social to get that reminder. I even have a note. I'm gonna talk fast, but not too fast to get through the agenda in 60 to 70 minutes. We're off to a great start. I'm doing that already. So we want to have plenty of time for questions today because we know you have them. And even if you don't have them now, you will by the time we finish a chapter. So we're going to try to speedish through the 60 to 70 minutes of content so that we have plenty of time for questions. With that, we will break today's agenda up into chapters. That way you get to ask questions after, a big chunk of information is thrown at you, because there's nothing worse than trying to remember the question and then missing so many things because you've been so worried about forgetting that question, right? So we're going to try to split things up a little bit to make that easier for you. And that's for the chat as well. People joining on YouTube and Facebook Live, please use that chat. Carly, sitting right up front here, Communications Director, is on the chat moderating everything. So she will make sure your questions get to us here in the room. And with that, Ellen, what is Fringe? What is it?
So just like your teams, Lois and I have very different modalities. She is the over-prepared one, and I have not looked at this. So I'm going to speak from, I guess, my brain. But Fringe is a really special place. Of course, it started in Edinburgh in 1947. Notes. But basically, in Edinburgh, there's a bunch of Edinburgh artists that were interacting with this international festival that was coming into their town, and they're like, "Where's our representation? Where are the Edinburgh artists in this theater festival?" And so they started their own theater festival, and guess what? It is like the biggest performing arts festival in the world, and it still exists today. And we just went, and it was fucking overwhelming, and it's beautiful and amazing, and we have that here. Of course, we're not on the fringe of another theater festival, but we are on the fringe of a film and TV town. And often in our town, we're kind of relegated to the side. And Fringe is that time where we get to be like, no, there's 400 different shows with 90% of the producers local to Los Angeles here, 10% not, that come together to have this wonderful celebration all together of the performing arts. It is such an amazing time. It is uncurated. It is open access. It is wacky, wild, weird, serious. It is close to home, and I love it. Every year we present a festival. We started in 2010. We've missed every year. We've had one every year except for one, 2020. What a year. But we did do one in 2021, and that was digital and in person. Last year we went interacting with that has done that over the past couple of years of the pandemic is going to be able to be someone you can lean on if you have questions regarding how the fuck do we do this now? Because theater has changed, and that's a good thing. And basically that, you get 100% of your box office proceeds from the Hollywood Fringe. We do not take that money. And that means that we've given back $3.9 million to artists over the last 10 years. And we continue to grow that number every year.
Yeah.
I'm something to clap about.
Like this group is we're going to surpass that 4 million. So we're going to be a part of that, and that's exciting. Ellen, I'm going to switch with you, read a little bit, and if you can check out the live stream.
Yes, I can.
We're having some technical difficulties. Live theater, am I right? So what is Fringe, right? Like, so that's a lot of information, but at the end of the day, it's a performing arts festival. Is that a surprise to anyone here? Hopefully not. Otherwise, this is going to be a very confusing day for you. Or perhaps you're exactly where you're meant to be, and this is something you're supposed to do. It is open access, like Ellen talked about. We do not curate. The only curation that takes place in our festival is the scholarship program, and even that is not curated so much as it is like the who's getting funded is curated. But the actual, like, anyone is allowed to participate at Hollywood Fringe. It's an opportunity to try new and experimental work. There's a freedom to fail at Hollywood Fringe that because there's less financial risk, you can really take the risk within your art and not do something that is safe because you know you need to be able to pay the venue and pay all of these things. And don't get me wrong, there is a cost to doing the Fringe Festival, but there is less cost because you're sharing venue space with not just your show on a Saturday night. You're sharing that space with 5 to 12 different shows. So the rent is going to be cheaper. You also have the support of a group. So you're not having to maybe hire somebody to help you with your box office because you met somebody at office hours who is going to help you with your box office and you're going to help with theirs. So there's a shared commitment to the festival process that does make it a lot more affordable than doing a standalone production. So it is, of course, like a chance to do the riskier material, but it's also a chance to do refined material or classic work. Like there's really no rule as to what you can bring. It all works as long as you know what your target audience is and how you want to market that within the festival community. It's an opportunity to build audiences amongst each other as well. So you are now a part of a cohort. There's 400 some shows at this Fringe Festival, and your audience is my audience. My audience is Ellen's audience. Ellen's audience is Matt Quinn's audience. Like everyone shares the audience because we have people who are coming to see your show and they discover 7 more while they're here. So you're building those eyeballs on your show who will stick around. If they like your work, they're going to come back when you are doing a standalone production or when you do Fringe another year. And you're also building an artist network. I think that is the thing we're going to keep coming back to. Is you're building your network that's going to go far beyond the month of June. if you want it. You certainly do not have to partake or dive into the community in that fashion. It's up to you. But I highly recommend it, and it's a big reason to do the festival. You're going to meet other artists that you will work with again. You're going to meet a director that you'll work with again. Maybe you find the perfect photographer in the participant packet, and now you know who to call when you're doing work in other spaces. Or you find an opportunity by way of, oh, you know what? You need that role filled. I know the perfect person. I saw them at Fringe. They were amazing. So you're going to see these opportunities that expand well beyond June, as long as you come into that and that supportive place. You want to help other people are going to help you. You're going to reap the benefits of that. And it's not an aesthetic or model, right? Anything goes at Fringe. So you don't have to think Fringe, it's got to be weird, it's got to be wacky, it has to be super out of the box. It doesn't have to be. That is certainly welcomed here, and certainly more so than I think in the average space, but it doesn't have to be. So again, no rules in what you're doing, as long as you really know how to market it and how to bring it to the space. With that, we have a lot of programs that go into the Hollywood Fringe Festival. And those are some of the programs that help you get those opportunities that take you beyond June. With that, Carly, can you talk about a couple of them? We have hotspots and industry, which is a new one that we're excited to tell you about.
Hey everyone, I'm Carly. I'm the communications director. So 2 programs. Our hotspot program. During the festival, we partner with a bunch of businesses in the Fringe zone, coffee shops, restaurants, bars, all sorts of things, and get you guys discounts. So you'll be able to show your button, which looks like this if you're a participant, and you'll get 10%, 15% off depending on the businesses. So stay tuned for more details on that. That will come during the festival. And then another program, our industry program. This is going to be the first year that we launch this. It's going to hopefully provide networking opportunities for all of you to get in touch with members of the film, television, and theater industries to potentially find opportunities after the festival. So stay tuned for more on that. We'll have more in the next couple months.
Yeah, and the cool thing, so the industry program was really built out of, I think, it already existed. We have sponsored awards, and I'm not going to touch too much on the awards. We'll get to that at the second town hall, I promise. But so many Fringe shows are discovered. We've had shows go off Broadway. We've had shows do extensions in many of our venues. There's an extension program where our venues will select shows to continue their run here in the Hollywood zone. And there's just so many other festivals. We have exchange awards. So there's so many opportunities already. And now we're forming that opportunity to directly connect you with these industry professionals who are interested in Fringe work and really want to take it to the next level. So that's really exciting. And we have volunteer opportunities because we need help. We're a small org. At the end of the day, there are literally 6 of us that run this. I mean, part-time, all of us have full-time jobs. And then we have an accessibility program that we're really excited to continue to expand. And I'm going to have Wiley, our wonderful audience services manager, talk about it.
Hi, my name is Wiley. So this is a lot to think about right now, but you will be receiving all of this information in your participant packet when you register. And part of that is accessibility. You want to grow your audience as much as possible by making your show as accessible as possible. And we have put together an extensive resource on how you can do that very practically in all of our venues. And that is available at hollywoodfringe.org/accessibility. There's a checklist in there. You can go, it's 5 steps. We make it easy. You go through and just see what you can do and be realistic for your show. And then the other part of this is the volunteers. Volunteers make our organization what it is. Yeah. And as participants, you can show your gratitude for them by offering comps and discount codes. And we have a whole program that does that. Again, this will be in the participant packet. But if you want to get added to that, email me, Wiley, W-I-L-E-Y, at hollywoodfringe.org. It's a great way. Yes.
Say that again.
Wiley, W-I-L-E-Y, at hollywoodfringe.org. This is a great way to get audience members in the seats that are excited about your show, that will spread the word about your show. And if you're interested in volunteering for the Hollywood Fringe Festival, we're relaunching our volunteer program this year, and you can find out more about the roles and the perks and all that fun stuff at hollywoodfringe.org/volunteer.
Ooh, a little sass at the end. Yes. And remember, all of this is going, like, we don't want you to miss this information. This is valuable for everyone involved. So we will make sure this goes out in the newsletter, in our participant packet, in social reminders. Like, this will not be the only time you hear about any of these programs. We also have the scholarship program. The applications just closed, but we'd love for Kevin to give us a little update on what's going on with that.
Hello, everybody. My name is Kevin. I'm the Hollywood Fringe Festival Programs Manager, and I'm just really excited. The Hollywood Fringe Scholarship Program that just closed its applications is a program that's intended to enhance and improve and add to the cultural diversity of our festival. We live out in Los Angeles, where white people are not the majority, and so we want our festival to be that as well. And so the applications are closed this year. There's more opportunities in the future to get funding through artist funds, so stay tuned for that. When the festival starts, the scholarship program is the only program that we handpick and curate the pieces that go into it. So the shows are always really good. So support the Hollywood Fringe Scholarship winners. All of the shows are going to be at Fringe Central at 905 Cole, and that's during the festival. That's where we're all going to hang out, drink, get information, and network with each other. And so it's a great opportunity to, buddy up with some people and have a really great festival experience. And I'll just plug too real quick, as we start to go into closer to June, starting in March, we're going to be having office hours every single Wednesday. So that's something you're going to want to come to, and you'll get emails about that. And come say hi.
I have a question.
I
So
have an answer.
if anyone applied for a scholarship, when should they expect to hear?
Thank you. If you applied for the scholarship and you're here, we'll be sending out emails to the winners in the first 2 weeks of February. So stay tuned. We'll announce the winners later in the year. But if you win, you'll know by mid-February.
Lois, our staff is the freaking
They
best.
really are.
I also want to shout out Sina, our development director, who has led our volunteer program for 10 years, nearly a decade. And they handed that over to Wiley recently to take on more of a developmental role in the organization. And then we also have festival staff that supports us, and we are freaking blessed over here, y'all, because our community is the best, but also our team.
We all really love supporting you. At the end of the day, like everyone on the Fringe team, it's not about the glory or the money, because trust me, it ain't there. We really picked the wrong careers. But it really is, we love and really take pride in supporting what you do. That is our role. We are a supportive system for artists. And that's really all of the team feels the same way. So that's why it's really special to get to work with them. We also have cabaret program. That's another one. And actually, Bella Luna is our wonderful cabaret director who works during the festival season. But cabaret is another opportunity to market your show during the festival, to get a little snippet of your work out there. It runs just like a typical cabaret there will be applications in a few months. So don't worry, you're not missing anything. We'll make sure you get those applications. But you get a chance to present about 7 to 10 minutes of your 3 to 5.
3 to 5.
It's been a while since I've seen a cabaret, it seems. But yeah, just a little snippet. So think of it like a trailer. It's a chance to get a little teaser of your show out there, a taste of the Fringe. But we'll have 3 to 4 of those during June at Fringe Central during the year as well. We also have Fringe Central. Kevin touched on it a little bit. Fringe, and I think this is the earliest we've ever announced that we officially have a space. We are prepped and ready to go. This year, Fringe Central will open during Previews Week, which is a first for us. In all 12 years, we've never had Fringe Central open for Previews Week, so we're really excited about that. Fringe Central is your social hub, basically. We are going to have a bar. We open like a pop-up bar that we call Brian's Bar, honoring one of our co-founders that we lost after year 1. And it's a really special space to just be in community with each other, to celebrate the successes that you're going through throughout the festival, and also be a shoulder to cry on when things maybe don't go well, and you forgot a line during the show. Like, it's such a supportive environment on both ends. You get to celebrate, but also feel when things, because life isn't always easy, right? So you get to have that in that space as well. And you don't have to buy anything. You can just come and be, which is the reason Fringe Central is really important for us, is to make sure you have a home base during the festival. As you're seeing 8, 9, 10 shows over a weekend, you're not stuck in your car, waiting for the next one. You have somewhere to go and be. And we all have drink sponsorships. That's another program that'll take place at Fringe Central. Again, I feel like I'm just going to say that a lot. More information to come. But it's nice to kind of know what to expect, right? So Drink Sponsorships is a program where our bar team, Bradley Pierce, our bar manager, creates a specialty cocktail in celebration of your show. For a small amount of money, you're basically sponsoring one of the menu drinks. And that's a way to market your show with a specialty cocktail in celebration of your show. So again, more information on that. Let's get COVID out of the way. And this year, it's a much shorter blurb than it has been in the past, which is nice. We don't have any festival-wide COVID policies this year. I'm saying it again, we don't have any festival-wide policies this year. That said, we fully support you and encourage you to do what you feel is right for you in your production, because we do still live in a world where COVID is a reality. It hasn't gone away. Our world is certainly changing and adapting to how we deal with it. But as participants, you get to make that call for yourself. So if you want to require a mask in your space, if you want to require vaccines in your space, you are absolutely welcome to do that. And it will be supported via the site. We'll talk more about this later on as well, but there'll be flags. So you can check a box that says you're requiring masks of your audience or you're requiring vaccines. So that's all available to your audience through the Fringe website. And just know though, if you are going to require anything beyond just what is like county regulation, your team or like the primary producer will be responsible for making sure that happens. But talk with your venue. If they run your box office, that might be something. I know the venues are supportive of what the participants are most comfortable with. But just know that might be something you have to have with someone there to double check masks, things like that. And that's COVID. So it's pretty easy. This year there's a lot less questions there.
With COVID too, I want to be really, really clear that we need to respect people's boundaries. As an immunocompromised person, I will probably be wearing a mask often, and I will probably be not as available for hugs or things that I don't feel comfortable doing yet. And I want to encourage our participants to be able to do that for themselves as well. And of course, there's nice ways to say your boundaries, which is literally what we're going into right now.
Oh, smooth transition.
Conduct. This is a professional environment, y'all. It is super, super, super important to us that we hit this over the head in our first couple of events, because we do not want to make any mistakes. As you're entering into this relationship with our community, we want you to make sure that you know what we expect of you. This festival is built on a freedom of expression and lack of censorship, which means we must maintain the utmost respect for one another to create a safe place for people to take risks in their work. We do not censor your words unless they are actively harmful or hateful towards a protected group. For example, women, people of color, queer and trans folks, disabled folks, deaf folks, fat folks, religious folks, the list goes on. It is important that we are intersectional in our thinking when we come to these spaces, and that we take our ego, throw it out the door. There are limits to our uncensored nature. This is a limit that is set by our access committee and is enforced by our code of conduct committee and our staff. We have a very diverse community, one that often has more women and non-binary people producing than men. And we attempt to foster a community where those don't face the gendered issues that they typically face in a working environment. We are on a path to making this a more accessible Fringe. This means that people might use disability-related terms that you're not familiar with. We might have an interpreter that you might not be used to seeing, and it might be distracting to you, or something might block your view. We encourage you to Google those terms. We encourage you to take a step back and think about how you have not had to experience the lack of access that other people have to experience. And it's okay to have a little bit of an inconvenience to make places accessible to other people. We are a space that's committed to anti-racism, not only through our words, but through our actions. In many environments, people face microaggressions and racism on a daily basis. At Fringe, we actively work to keep these behaviors out of our spaces. We are radically aware of this, and we try to engage folks in conflict resolution whenever possible. We are fiercely protective of our community of artists and our community ethos. We reserve the right to ask you to leave at any time. And we also ask sometimes for you to take a break. Take a step away, reflect, and then come back and join us when you're ready to. This isn't to scare you or to be like, oh, looking at Fringe. It's really just to set the expectation so that you are very clear When you're interacting in this space, you are to be professional to each other, you are to be kind to each other, and supportive.
Yeah. We're kind of, I mean, Ellen and I are kind of the mama bears of the Fringe. This has been, we took this festival over 2 years ago from the wonderful co-founders that built it, but we've both been a part of the festival for the majority of our adult lives. And so we are very protective because this has been a home for us, and we've seen the home it's created for, it's been for others, and what it's been created because of it. So we are very fiercely protective. And because you deserve that, quite frankly, you deserve that protection. So we do come at it with great responsibility, and we ask that you do as well. With that, in addition to the community ethos that Ellen just went through, we do have a code of conduct that we take very seriously. The following are not allowed within our community: microaggressions, verbal and physical intimidation, hate speech, harassment, sexual assault and harassment, excessive consumption of alcohol and other legal substances, aggressive behavior or disrespectful behavior. And when you're navigating the festival, we ask that you be mindful of intention versus impact. Intent is what you aim to achieve through an action, where impact is how it affects a person or community that is receiving that action. The impact does not always have the intent, or the impact is not always what you intended, right? You might not always mean to intend harm, but that does not mean that sometimes harm takes place. So with that, we want you to be very cautious and very aware. It's not even, you shouldn't have to think about it too much. Just be aware of your actions and how they are affecting those around you. At the Hollywood Fringe, we do look at impact of our actions, whether direct or indirect, beyond the original intention, and take the opportunity as a group to be more culturally competent and aware. We also really keep in mind public versus private interactions. Our actions, discussions, and behaviors are nuanced, and we know that. We know, especially in this group, we keep talking about it, right? Community, we're a family, we're friends, we are going to build these bonds. But that doesn't mean we can forget that in a room, we're in a public space or we're in a professional space. So it's just always being very considerate, even if it's not something that, I might be speaking to Kevin. And it doesn't harm Kevin, because Kevin and I maybe have an inside joke, or we have a shared understanding about something we're talking about. But that doesn't mean Ellen knows that, and that doesn't mean that Ellen is not affected by what we're saying. So we just want to always consider that in this group setting, because at the end of the day, it really does create the space that we all deserve. And so we want to work together. It's not Ellen and I can't do it alone. Our team can't do it alone. It's a group effort to give the space the safety it needs for artistic risk, and to really take that risk and vulnerability in our work. That's why such amazing things happen at Fringe. It's because it's a safe space to play in that fashion. If you do make a mistake, it happens. We ask that you just bravely take responsibility for it. Listen and learn. We encourage you to take a deep breath and avoid defensive reactions, because often defensive reactions come from pride and embarrassment and white supremacy culture. And we want you to just consider that when things happen, take a deep breath. Think about how you're reacting, because that 9 times out of 10 is the biggest problem. There's more information at hollywoodfringe.org/conduct, all about how to avoid that white supremacy culture within our space. If a member of the Fringe staff does come to you because of an issue, please take that seriously. That means we've had a complaint and we want to conduct conflict resolution. That is our goal. And if we're unable to resolve an issue in a professional manner because of something that was broken within our code of conduct, that may mean that your time at Fringe has come to an end. At the end of the day, participating in the Fringe is a privilege, it is not a right. I will say this, I can count the times in 12 years of the festival on both my hands. I don't need more hands to count how many times we've had to go to those extreme levels. It is rare, but it is something to be aware of, just so we don't cross those lines. If you witness any of the above that we've talked about, let us know. Or if if it happens to you, if you've witnessed it, let us know. You can either tell somebody on the Fringe staff. We have these badges. These are last year's. We'll have new ones this year. But that means that we're a safe space to come and tell us what's going on. We'll always wear these badges, especially until you get to know our faces. At a certain point, like in the next few months, you're going to know who we are. But we know that you don't yet. So we'll make sure to wear these badges. And then there's always conduct at hollywoodfringe.org. That email goes directly to Ellen and myself, and then it will be shared with the conduct committee, depending on what you want kept private and not. But that is always a resource to you. And we're saying all of this not to scare you. Again, we just want to produce better work, and that's how we can do it if we really create this safe space. We don't live in a world where we want to punish. In fact, we avoid it when possible. We really do want conflict resolution and learning and growing. So know that, but we will protect this space. So like I said, Mama Bears, we love you all so much, and we are so proud of the work you do, and we want to see it thrive because artists are going to change the world. You are the people who are going to change minds, who are going to change everything in which we live in, and you deserve that space to refill your cup and to, refill your soul. And so we want to be able to provide that for you. And so with that, I mean,
I think that's pretty much it.
That's pretty much it. Don't be a jerk.
Our policy used to be don't be a jerk, and that used to be enough. And then we were like, no, we should probably flesh out what don't be a jerk means.
So, but if you live with that, don't be a jerk. Was it no jerks allowed? That was the first code of conduct at Hollywood Fringe, and that worked for a few years. And then we had to be very specific, which is helpful. We know that you need lines so that you know where those boundaries are because everybody needs to know expectations.
And you can go into a drinking environment. You can go into all of the, because it's a fucking party. Okay, like imagine like you're going into a fucking party, a fucking summer camp, and you have to like say all these things so that everybody. You can't register projects unless you can hear the word. But like. Here's the thing. You're going into a party, you're going into this wonderful celebration where boundaries are bound to get crossed. So we just have to set the expectation that people are allowed to say, whoa, boundary here. And you go, cool. That's it. Okay, great.
So
Questions?
Don't be a jerk. Questions, yes. Oh, with questions, if you want to stand up, you don't need to, but please let us know your name, your pronouns, and what show you're bringing to the festival. Start marketing now. Like we want to start to associate people in their shows. That way we remember the shows when we go to buy tickets. Yeah. Yes.
Hi, my name is Tamara.
Will you speak up a little bit? So sorry.
Tamara.
Hi, Tamara.
I'm not sure which show I'm bringing yet. That's
cool.
juggling in my head.
Yeah.
Just for clarity, conduct is about how we behave in real time in space with each other and not our work.
It's both. So I mean, like when it comes to your work,
Can you repeat the questions for the live stream?
Oh, yeah. So the question was, is conduct referring to like our work or our interactions in person versus our work?
It's both. Like our uncurated nature has a point. We are uncurated until it becomes hate speech or it's actively harmful towards a protected community. Other than that, be naked, roll around on the floor in blood. I don't
It's
like.
a sex positive.
It's a super sex positive, super inclusive community, and often people of color will end up having very tough conversations on stage about race. It's not really a white artist's place to do that. That's what I think like there.
And we've never had to. I will say that too. In the 12 years, we've never banned a show for the content has never been the issue. But I will note in other Fringe festivals, it is starting to happen where there's some things, and I think we can all recognize that, right? Some things are just not okay. And at the end of the day, we can't uplift that show as a festival with the ethos that we have and the rules that we have about how we conduct ourselves. We can't uplift a show that is outright racist. That's going to be
It's just about if you're like, oh, is this line causing harm? Then maybe don't have that line.
Yeah, or check in with
your other producers, check in with us. You can always email us and be like, I have this thing, and I want to talk it through.
Yeah.
Like it is actively something that everybody is working on. I will say that there have been instances where we've gone to see a show where somebody's reported to us like something unsafe, like an unsafe prop, or like you never want to point a gun at the audience, for instance. Like that's a very triggering thing to happen for your audience members. And so we had to talk to that cast and crew and be like, how about you reblock that?
Yeah.
Done. So it's just those types of tweaks usually that would come, and it's because of a safety issue or because somebody is active hate speech.
Otherwise, it's like flags. You'll want to make sure, like, if you have content that could trigger someone. If your show is about sexual assault, you're going to mention that. You're going to definitely want to mention that in your project page. And we go through, like, we'll talk more about that in the accessibility page. So a lot of it is also just information sharing. Make sure that no one is surprised when they, if as an audience member, I don't want to come back to a show if I come in and end up it ruining my day because I wasn't ready to go and dive deep into the content of that show because of personal experience.
Slower.
Thank you. Am I doing a little bit better or okay? All right. Louder.
They say Ellen is a good volume, but a little louder than you.
We have a question right here.
Hi, I'm Sam. I'm bringing a show called This Was Never Supposed to Be a One-Woman Show, a One-Woman Show. I had a question about, like, if a I have a two-parter, kind of.
Yeah.
If there's a conduct issue that we feel like we need backup on, is there like how do we go about getting that support? Is it just like an emailing?
So if you have a conduct issue that you feel like you need support on as one of our artists, we are here for you. That is why we're bringing this up. And it's literally coming up, if you want to resolve it in the moment, coming up to a staff member. We'll all be wearing the staff badge. Anybody who has a staff badge can handle that and direct you to the right person. And it's usually going to be probably Lois or myself. And so if you ever at a Fringe event, you're like, I'm feeling right there and I'm having this and I want to talk it through. We try and go through, when there is conflict, we try and resolve it with the victim first and figure out what the victim wants out of the situation. Like if something happens to you and you don't feel that it was super harmful to you, we're not going to be like, well, we have to keep pursuing this. It's really about what the people who have been actively hurt need so that they can continue on and don't get their experience ruined because of somebody else. Because that's all we're trying to prevent, right? Is that somebody who typically faces these struggles on a daily basis is having to consistently face that here in this community, and then this other person just gets to act however they want? No. And then you can always email conduct@hollywoodfringe.org. It forwards to us. It goes to the conduct committee. We have like a whole Slack channel of people that we go back and forth. We fight a lot about things, and we just try and be as fair as possible. Because at the end of the day, we're gonna make mistakes too, period. Like, we're all navigating and learning through all of our interactions. And so we're gonna work with y'all just to make sure that everybody feels supported. And to be clear, there have been people who have had issues and then been like, oh, I wanna take a break. And then came back and have been like welcomed with like open arms because they have learned from those mistakes and have actively come back into the community and been better because of it. So don't be like, oh my God, if I make a mistake, they won't love me anymore. You will.
Wait, there was a second part.
Oh, yeah.
And kind of along the lines of conduct, because you mentioned like trigger things, which made me think of. What do we have any security stuff?
Oh, so security at the festival. So when it comes to security at the festival, it's so dependent on your venue. Mm-hmm. So all venue spaces will operate differently, right? Some people have shows in parks, and they would need to hire security if they wanted security at a show in a park. Some people have venues that have bar spaces attached that have their bar security that kind of operates to help keep the whole area safe. Mm-hmm. I will say whenever you come to Fringe Central, we always have a security officer or a person helping us. And also we actively make sure that you don't walk home alone and that kind of stuff. So there's like a huge community culture, and we will be emailing out all of these kind of like ideas and policies, but basically at pretty much any of our venues and always in our spaces, because it's all we can promise, is that if you're like, I need somebody to walk me to my car, we'll do it. We always. Oh my God! Sparkling water on stage, never again. Yes, people will walk you to your car, and there will be that like kind of community pack mind that comes through where it's like, oh, we should go to the venue together. That way we can go to our car together, and we'll drive you to it.
And that, I mean, I see, like, I know Matt and Bertha and Amber are here. I mean, you can speak to this as well. Like, the venues are also going to be like, they love you too. They don't want anything to happen to you. So like, you have many home bases in this space. Like, you have Fringe Central, you have your venue home. So you have many homes of people that love and care for you.
Hi, my name is Angelique from She, Her, and my partner Matt and I are writing a show tentatively called The King and I. And I just wanted to ask you guys to expand a bit on office hours. I know you mentioned it starts in March, but is it like college? Is it the professor you're going to, or is it something where how does the sign up go for office hours? Like what's
The question was about office hours. Remember to do that. We're actually going to get into a full detail thing, but because it is a great question and something, So we'll in like 2 pages. We'll go into their office hours.
I got excited.
No, as you should. It's an exciting program.
Hi, I'm Nico. Pronouns he and his, she or her family, and theirs. Me and my partner Ronnie are writing a one-woman show called Mad About the Boy. My question is specifically about as we're going forward with like making script changes and locking things down. Is there specific things that you would recommend as we go forward, specifically with the idea of code of conduct applying to the show itself, beyond just like the information dumped on the website itself, but like pre-show trigger warnings, like what are your recommendations there?
We have a whole series of workshops that we're about to explain. And so what we will be doing anti-racism. Well, let's just start reading.
Yeah.
All right. Well, any other
This next
questions
section is
before?
going to alleviate some of the.
Okay, now that we're done with like all of like that was like, oh, what is Fringe? Like this ethos and like all of this code of conduct stuff. Okay, what is coming up? Like what does Fringe
fun.
provide you? And one of our biggest things is that we want to train artists to become their own advocates and producers. That is one of our main mission points at Hollywood Fringe, is that you as an artist who maybe didn't have formal training because you couldn't afford to, or you haven't been able to formally train as a producer, you have all those tips and tricks.
Or even in LA, maybe you trained as a producer in New York, and LA is a whole different ballgame. So
yeah, so we have tons of educational events, workshops, and networking events. So this year's schedule, it's crazy, it's amazing. It adds like directly to your calendar. So if you go to hollywoodfringe.org/calendar, you're gonna be able to say like, add the calendar, and it'll add all the dates. And then you can choose which ones you wanna go to, because there's a lot, and we don't expect you to go to all of them, which is why we offer many sessions. All of our sessions are recorded and posted, as well as live streams, so that you have that accessibility. And I would highly, highly, highly recommend watching all of our workshops if you're a first-time producer. Especially if you're a first-time producer at our festival, you're like, I've produced before. It's like, but this is different. So definitely watch them all. For our town halls, we have this one. And then we have one in April where we're gonna set the expectation about, okay, you've gotten all the prep work done, what the fuck now? And then we have-
Italian, I mean.
I know, I'm sorry.
I love it.
Potty mouth. But then we also have budgeting and fundraising, anti-racism and producing, accessibility at the Fringe, marketing and ticketing, how to tech your Fringe show, and festival expectations. Those are all panels where we curate a panel of award-winning artists at Fringe, people who have done it very successfully, and they just give us their knowledge. It's like beautiful, they're free. We do have a pay what you can code because we're not nonprofit. We don't have a full-time staff. We would appreciate to be able to buy little snacks for our producers, put them in the back. That's the kind of stuff that we pay for. But you don't have to. If that's not financially accessible to you, you're already spending a lot of money doing theater. So our town halls they're all hybrid. You can request an interpreter.
Our town halls, yeah.
But they're all hybrid. They're all live streamed and
Sorry, yes, go ahead. Sorry.
they're all live streamed, and then our town halls are in person and hybrid. And then we have one workshop that'll be in person as well, just so that you can kind of meet some of our artists that have done Fringe for a long time, and that's the Festival Expectations panel. Cool.
Yeah, virtual web sessions. So this is new, right?
Yeah.
This is new this year, and we're really excited about it. So like what got us here, we do these postmortems, and we hope that everyone here will also come to the town hall that takes place after the Fringe Festival is over, because that's when we get feedback. At the end of the day, we're only able to witness so much, right? There's 6 of us staff members, there's thousands of artists and hundreds of shows, so we're not able to see exactly what's happening all the time. So these post Fringe town halls, we're able to get real feedback and what we can make better. And these web sessions came directly from participant feedback last year, so we listen and it helps us. Thank you. But we're going to do session number 1 next week, and that's going to be all about navigating the website pre-festival. So both of these are all about our website and how to get the best experience possible on the tech side of Fringe. So the session on February 2nd, that's the one coming up, will essentially go through everything that we're talking about today, but show you. It's going to be literally me sharing my screen, going through the Fringe process. We'll go through registration. We'll talk about that today, but we're going to go through it on the 2nd, so you can see how that looks, so that if you have any questions, you have a visual of what goes on. And we'll also go through where to find information, because we know that there's a lot. There's so much information. So we're going to go through kind of those quick links on how to get to the things that are going to be most useful to you. So I really recommend that, especially if you don't feel like you're a super tech savvy artist. I myself am not a tech savvy person, and I know I'm running it. So that's a good sign that anyone can pick it up. I promise you that. But if it makes you a little more uncomfortable on the tech side, I definitely recommend these workshops. The second one is going to be how to navigate the website during the festival. So that's when we're going to go through the tools like ticketing, how to use comps, how to work with press and industry on the site, how to do the intersite messaging and find the will call list, things like that that are going to be really important for you to know as a producer in June. So please come to those. The second one is going to be in May. So we won't dump all of that information on you until it's more relevant to the time period. We really schedule these things out thoughtfully. That way you're taking in the information that is necessary when it's necessary and moving through the process in that way. Also new this year, we have Fringe open spaces. That's going to be, I'm going to look to the camera, mostly for our international and national artists who are going to travel to Los Angeles or are maybe thinking about it. Because we know that touring is a commitment. Coming into another city or another country is a financial commitment that is different than if you live locally. So we want to have these open sessions. That way you can ask us questions. We can talk about the artist experience for someone who has never been here and really set expectations. Because I think equally as it's important to give information about how the festival works, I think it's equally important for everyone to understand the expectations of the festival and maybe, what your goals are will determine what your festival experience is. So we try to be really frank about what those different goals can be and where to help you find those proper expectations. So please join us. We have one coming up on January 30th and then two more on February 5th and February 7th. More information on our newsletter, on our website, /news on the events page. It's going to have all of those listed there. So super important if you're thinking about coming. Also, while I'm on the international artists subject, we have a support article. It's on the participants tab of the supportal. So check that out. It's international. It says international artists, and there's more information about all of the visa, and the work competition option. There's some different options there for international artists. So I highly recommend starting with that page just to kind of plan out what your experience is going to be. Office hours. Hey, office hours. That's the next section. So office hours is back, y'all. It hasn't started. We're doing the off season actually. So we do have one next month.
February 9th or 8th or 9th.
Next week, yeah.
Next week. We have one next week at the Broadwater.
The 8th, so not this Wednesday, but tomorrow.
8th.
Perfect. Thank God for the full team.
7 to 9.
Yeah, 7 tonight at the Broadwater Plunge. So we do these in the off season once a month, and that's a way for you to kind of get a jump start on office hours. Because then on what is the date? March 29th, we start having them every week until previews begin. So March 29th through May 31st, every Wednesday from 7 to 10 p.m. we will be at different bars in the Hollywood area meeting together. It'll be 3 hours of community networking. It's a chance to get to know the people in this room, the people that you're going to be on this journey with. It's also a chance to market your show, start to get the word out. At the end of the day, there's thousands of artists, like I said, that's going to be your audience. A good portion of your audience is going to come from other shows. So that'll be a chance to get the information out to other people about your show. It's also a chance staff will be there, so you can ask us questions as you go through the process. It's also a great chance, if you do have questions about your script, if you're like, I'm not sure about this line, it's a really nice, relaxed space to come to us and say, hey, here's this line. What do you think, Ellen and Lois? So this is kind of that all-encompassing space. Just come grab a drink and hang out with people who have, similar interests. People who are not doing Fringe actively still come to office hours. So you'll have past participants coming just because they missed the community. So it really is just a chance to gather in community in celebration of the work we're doing and the stress we're under, So I highly recommend that. Yeah, please come to as many as you're able. We also have 3 digital events. So those of you joining from home, you can absolutely join in on office hours. We'll do 3 this year. They are on Zoom. It's kind of a speed networking event. We'll do different Zoom rooms, and you'll do one-on-one speed networking with different participants. Which you're also, you don't have to be international or national to join. We recommend anyone. Sometimes you just don't want to deal with LA traffic, and that is okay. If you want to sit at home in your jams and do an office hours, more power to you. I love those. So April 20th, May 1st, and May 22nd. Those are going to be our digital office hours. So everyone has a chance to join in. Yeah, should we talk important dates, get into this festival stuff?
Yes. Don't worry. We will hammer these into your head. But please write them down if you can. These are the dates that you're like, any of them have deadlines? These are them. February 1st, registration opens. We will talk about what that means right after our question break. If you're like, what is registration? Guess what? We'll talk about it. But that's when our registration opens. April 1st, registration deadline soft. That is your deadline to register if you want to be in our guide. So our guide, which is like running around here, you can kind of see an example. Look at that beautiful, beautiful guide. If you want your free listing, which is included in your registration fee, you got to register by April 1st. What day?
April 1st.
Woo! April 10th is the last day if you want to buy a guide ad. So in addition to getting your listing, everybody gets a listing. You can also purchase an ad. And guess what that goes to do? Pay for printing it, because it's really freaking expensive.
But you do get 50% off as registered artists.
You get 50% off of the cost that we give to businesses. And that is on April 7th. May 1st, that is the day that tickets go on sale. So you've got to make sure that your project page is by that day, because that is the day that people are going to start to go to your page and be like, oh, I want to buy tickets. And then June 1st through the 6th, that is our preview dates. So there's the official dates of the Hollywood Fringe Festival, and we have that week of previews. Those are still included in like you're still having people that are going to come scout for awards or industry during previews, but it's also kind of like a light time, a soft open where you can like make a little bit of mistakes, make sure that you've got your ducks in a row, change some little things. Then we have this beautiful, amazing opening night party. We all come together, we dance, we cheer. We're like, oh my God, we opened! On June 7th. That is super important that all participants come. It is such a wonderful time together, and it really is just like a highlight of every year for me. It's just meeting everybody. Everybody has such a fun time. We always have a great DJ. We always have like other little activations like Melrose Poetry Bureau doing like free poems for you, or like little performances happening all around. It's so fun. And then we have the festival. From the 8th to the 25th, there's like shows happening. And you're like running around and you're like going. You're like, oh, my friend show is this time. And then my show is at this time. So I'm going to go see their show. Then I'm going to get into costume and I'm going to go perform. Or you're like, I'm going to sit at home and prepare and see my show. And then afterwards, I'm going to have a drink. You know, like, you know. I don't know your process, but you're going to be around. And I think that it is just like a whirlwind of excitement. It is so much fun. It feels like it's a long time, the 8th through the 25th. It's like a week, like it feels like a day. Yeah, you're like, oh my God, where did it go at the end of it? And then we have this like huge party on the last day, on that 25th. So try not to schedule your shows around that, or like in the evening of that day. You can do it during the day that day, but maybe not. That is our awards and closing night party. That is going to be this award ceremony. It starts at 6 p.m. It is a really wonderful time where we get to honor some people that had honors and celebrate all together. Awards are kind of meh, but you know, it's really fun. But the thing about awards, you're gonna be like, oh, how do I get them? What do I do? We have so many workshops about it. Our town hall is gonna tell you all about how to apply. So basically kind of how it kind of works is we have two types of awards. We have like awards that people curate outside the festival. This is called sponsored awards. And there's where companies come in, they're like, this is really good work. Let me figure out what is going to be the best solo show this year. That's like maybe a professional playwriting company is making these decisions, and they have like a team, and they all go and see like 50 shows, and they do that. And then we have our Community Freak Awards, and those are voted on by you and anybody who has seen more than 3 shows. And those are like Best of Fringe, or like Best Solo Show, and we have category awards and things like that. We will talk about awards ad nauseum. They are literally, if that's like your main goal, that could be your main goal of Fringe, but for a lot of people, you're just kind of a bonus.
Yeah, and I wanted to touch on goals since you kind of brought it up, and then we'll take some more questions. But we're talking a little bit expectations and goals. I think this is the time to really decide what that is for you. That way you do have the experience you want to have at Fringe. It would be silly for any of us to pretend like people are making millions of dollars producing theater in Los Angeles. People are not making millions of dollars producing theater anywhere for the most part. And not to say that you're going to lose, your savings. It's not like, but play it smart and know that, maybe that is your goal. Maybe it is to sell out, so many shows. And if you have an audience here in Los Angeles already, you could potentially do that. But other expectations could be awards or to gain reviews and press for what happens next for Fringe. Right after Fringe, you might want to take this show somewhere else or submit it to other festivals. And so having awards, having reviews, having press write-ups about your show are things that are going to help you get there, or having it even just videoed during the festival. So all of start to think, so if that's your goal, collect, then you're in a collection mode, right? How can I gain things that are going to help take my show to the next level? Or it might simply be community, getting to know other theater artists, other people who do what you do, so that you can move to the next level as an artist in Los Angeles.
I would say that because producing a show is so overwhelming, the best advice I've ever heard from one of the people on our workshops that are freaking geniuses, they were like, when I do Fringe, I decide for each show what my 2 goals are. Don't choose more than that. Don't be like, I want this and this and that. You're like, your 2 goals could be I want to sell out at least 2 shows, and I want to make sure that I get this many reviews. Pick 2. Pick 2 goals and go at them hard, and then the rest will be bonus. And the rest will come from you hitting those 2 goals really hard. Because if you're driven towards those 2 goals, the other things will come with them, right? Just pick 2, focus in.
Yeah, and then ask other people how you, it's a great way to go into these networking events too. If you've decided on your 3 goals or your 2 goals, then you go into office hours and you meet someone who's done, 7 Fringes, and you can be like, hey, can I pick your brain? And they're going to be so open and willing to share with you. You tell them what your goals are, and they're going to have great advice on how to achieve that goal. Questions? Yes.
I'm Lizzie Sky, pronounced medium. Not sure what show I'm reading yet.
I love it. It's still
Lizzie Sky experience. So I live here now, but I have a few international acts I produced that are looking to come here. I know this is a bit of a loaded question with Fringe festivals, so I ask in the most gentle way possible.
I can't wait.
Do you have any support with ability? Because I know a lot of them are, funded Canadian festivals.
Yes.
What?
With ability, that's it. So yeah, the question is about do we offer housing? I know because ability is not a word that's never necessarily used here. Unfortunately, we do not. At this time, it is something, because yes, you're right, the Canadian festivals, and a lot of it is every Fringe festival, for anyone who doesn't know kind of the Fringe circuit, it is so specific to the city in which you support and interact with. And so all festivals are going to look very different. It was shocking to me when I've been to Adelaide Fringe and Edinburgh Fringe and Orlando Fringe, and it was like, whoa, this is so different. Even Orlando Fringe in the same country, wildly different because of,
5 different countries and 7 different cities.
They're so different, yeah, and that's part of setting expectations, especially with international artists, right? So yeah, unfortunately, no. Although we are always looking at maybe some hotel discounts or some discounts that we can try to provide, certainly. But we could certainly, if you email support and just to get some pointers on just area or things, we're always so willing and want to help you make it easier to find things, even if we can't necessarily offer housing at this time.
Also, if you're watching this and you're like, you know what, I want to help an artist, please always let us know. Because when people start to bring in things, that's when we can start to offer things,
Yeah.
And also, so do you have any stats about percentage capacity of an average show last year?
Ooh, annual report. That's a great question.
Yeah.
HollywoodFringe.org/annual report.
Yeah, great. And I will say that the average ticket price of a Hollywood Fringe show in 2022 was $10. So that was the average ticket sold. So there's people that sell more, there's people that sell less. And it just depends on your capacity. And I'm going to go all into budgeting in just a second, and we'll talk about it a lot. I saw that there was another question. Yeah. Oh, there's 2 of you. So whichever one first.
My name is Michelle, pronouncer she, her, doing the one-woman comedy thing about my favorite acts, Jesus Christ. I'm curious if you've had experiences of folks in the past participating who maybe they had a choppy June where they have to leave LA and come back because of opportunities. Is it still worth doing Fringe if you're going to miss a number of days?
Yeah, that's a great question. I'm gonna remember to repeat it to live stream. So the question is, is it worth it to break it up? Because we do have a long festival, right? And there's to speak to other festivals, some of them are a week long. So is it worth it to break apart your June and not do a full run throughout the entirety of June? And yes, because we don't run like Edinburgh. So anyone who is familiar with Edinburgh, the average schedule is every day at the same time. Our Fringe Festival does not, we don't even recommend that because it's just not financially feasible to do that here. But like, so 3 to 7 shows is kind of the window that most people stick to. And that can be some in the beginning, some at the end, all one, week. It really is up to you.
Yeah, my big advice for anybody who isn't going to be here for the entire time is that if you're going to be missing more than half and you're local, maybe wait. But if it's something where you're like, no, I'm going to be missing half, but I can put a couple in the front or a couple in the end. Like if you did all of your shows in the last weekend, probably not a good idea. But if you can front for awards, right? Because you're not going to be able to get people out to your show. But if you can sprinkle it through, or if you're kind of going in that beginning, so like if you're in the previews in that first week, it's going to be a lot easier for you to be thought of for awards and things like that, because it's not right before people are about to present. So there is alternate ways to participate, and anything like that, please ask us questions. We'll totally download with you.
I want to add really quick with that. It also depends on who you have on your team, because I think it also is very feasible if you maybe only have the last week that you're doing shows, but you have a friend or a producing partner or somebody who's in Los Angeles promoting the hell out of your show. And that way, when you get here to perform, boom, you have sold out houses. So it really depends on what tools you have.
Also, every piece of advice that we give here on the stage is meant to be broken, except for our code of conduct stuff. So literally we'll be like, this is a good idea. And then somebody will prove us wrong.
Yeah, every time.
So when it comes to producing type things, it's really going to be about what's best for you, and you're going to feel it in your gut. We had a question here, and then here, and then here. Yeah.
So my name is Ali Parikh. Hi. My pronouns are him, and then we'll be doing a solo show about a historical figure named Kim Rao in India. I just wanted to repeat some dates, actually.
Yeah.
The soft open date is closing night.
Yeah. So our preview week is June 1st through the 6th. We're repeating dates. June 1st through the 6th, and then we have our opening night party on the 7th. Our Fringe Festival proper is happening the 8th through the 25th, and then the 25th at around 6-ish is when our awards ceremony will happen. So those are your most important dates. And then at these dates, as well as all of our workshops, if you go to hollywoodfringe.org/calendar, you can just pop them into your calendar.
And yeah, we're gonna really hit these home. And every event, key dates are gonna be in every newsletter by the end. Yeah, this is the time period. Even our staff gets them wrong, because we switch within a few days of June, or of the section of June every year. So I think at the venue panel, I said 4 or 5 times that we close on the 28th. We do not. It's the 25th. And so you'll get it by the time it's important.
Yes, my name is Max Schaefer, again. I'm doing a show. It's a lot of firsts. My first time directing a new group that's being premiered. This is a musical improvisation group of 11. And it's going to be all new musical. It's a whole new form of improvisation. So a lot of news. I've got about 10 questions. I'll give one question, table the rest. But what I heard you say at the beginning is 100% off profits for the artist. Does that mean for ticket sales that you're not taking a cut off the ticket sales? And if I want to do something like 2-for-1s or comps, or maybe have a whole show just for benefits, a benefit for a special group, that there's no cuts that are going to be taken from that. And for selling, the selling you said it starts May 1st, right? For the tickets. Possible ways of coupon things. Does that go through you, or does that, if I want to do 2-for-1 comps, does that go through the
I think
organization?
this
We'll go through that later.
Yeah, so we're about to go through all of our budgeting and stuff, and a lot of those questions will be answered. But yes, 100% of ticket sales do go back into artist pockets, and then you're able to sell a certain number off the Fringe site, which we'll go over in a little bit. If you want to do Gold Star or through a specific group like you're talking about, door sales, and then the rest is sold through our site. And then we have a $2.50 service charge per ticket that we do keep for the processing charge, but you keep that. If your ticket's set at $10, that person will pay $12.50, you keep 10.
Yeah.
We have the processing fee of $2.50.
The buyer is paying for the service fee, just like whenever you use, when you're
Any
buying
credit card.
Ticketmaster or anything like that. Yeah, I just want to specify. So when what was I going to specify? There was a thing. 50% of your tickets must be sold on the Fringe website. You can sell 100% of your tickets on the Fringe website. That is absolutely, and it happens more often than not. What we're saying there is you're welcome to 50% of it can be through a third party or another platform of your choosing. That is entirely up to you. But 50% must, but then you can do as much as you want after that. And that's so we have tickets on sale for the marketing we're doing, right?
And then we had a question over here.
Super quick. I think you guys might have mentioned that I'm here to give you such a time for press and when the reviews happen. I know obviously we need to market ourselves and we're in charge of our own campaign, but does the Fringe reach out to the industry at all? Like, do you guys have a list of people that you're like, please come? Or is it on us to make sure if we want industry people there that obviously we get invited as well, but.
No, that's a great question. And we go over this. There's going to be a whole marketing section. And then the next town hall goes heavily into press as well. So the question was, what work does Fringe do in kind of bringing people to the table, right? And this is an important thing to know, I think, when you're deciding to register or not. Thank you. All right. So yes, we do a lot of that footwork of like bringing people to the table. But it is up to you to make sure your show is noticed. At the end of the day, we work for the collective. And of course, we'll help connect people. Like if there's, like when we're working with industry, for example, that we're gonna have people that say, I only book musicals. I'm only looking for musicals. So we're gonna help make sure they're connected with the shows that are musical in our festival. So things like that. But otherwise, but we'll give you the tools to also at least help you be successful. I won't let you press in Los Angeles for theater. It's not great. They're really busy covering a lot of other things, but it is getting better, and we do have a list. Carly, in fact, handles our press and works really hard to get the attention of press and bring them to your shows.
Any other questions before we move on to registration and budgeting?
Because remember, if you do have questions later on, what email would you use?
Support
at HollywoodFringe.org.
Yes!
Support.
Yes, I love it. Okay, so let's talk registration. I'm going to talk so slow. I'm so sorry, everyone. Yeah. So registering, there's 3 basic requirements of Fringe. These are the 3 things you need to accomplish in order to have a show at our festival. You need an online project. How many people have already created their online project? Can you raise your hand? Amazing, check. That's fantastic. And don't worry if you haven't, there's still 2 full months before we even hit our first deadline for the printed guide. The next step is going to be, you're going to want to book a venue. Has anyone already booked a venue? Hey, okay, you were ahead of the game. I love it. But again, no worries. You still have several months or 2 months. After that, you're going to want to pay registration. And I know nobody's done that because we have not opened that yet. So that does start on February 1st. You can register your project. I will note you do not have to do the booking a venue and registering your project in any particular order. As long as both of them happen prior to April 1st, you were in good shape. So if you want to book if you already have your venue now, that's great. Register after the fact or vice versa. So let's talk to that creative project. If you have already done it, you already know a little bit about this, but maybe you want to go back in and refine your project page. It's all pretty self-explanatory, I think, right? Everyone who's done it already, was it pretty easy? Excellent, great. I'm trying to make it that way. I do want to mention category because I think this is something that stumps people. So your category, you're choosing between comedy or musicals and operas or one-person show, right? So you can likely fit into multiple categories as what your show is. So I want you to think about how you want to market your show and how you want to be considered for awards. Those are the 2 big things to consider when choosing your category. So just because you're a solo show doesn't mean you have to be a solo show. If there's also music, or if you sing in it, perhaps it's musicals and operas. Or if there's a lot of physicality, maybe it's dance and physical theater. So as long as you don't want to shock your audience. If you have a drama that is just going to rip your heart out, don't put comedy. That's not going to be helpful. But you could put, if it's a one-person show that is dramatic, you could put drama instead of one-person show. So know that there's a lot of wiggle room in there. You just kind of have to decide what your journey is going to be with your show as far as marketing and possible awards. Note the short description is for the printed guide. So when we do end up locking down the printed guide for print, of course it's the printed guide, the short description is what's going to go in there. And we'll go through more of that. Like you'll have a guide proof. There'll be lots of steps to make sure. But that's so when you're writing these out, think about that. Short description is for the printed guide. The long description is for the website. That's going to be what's virtually available. Yeah, those are pretty much, perfect. Step 2, registration and workflow. So you haven't gotten to the stage yet, but starting February 1st, you can officially register your project. If you already do have your project, you might have actually gone through some of these steps already. And so I do want to point out, you can always go back and revisit all of these steps. So like if you created your project page, maybe you also added your tags or hashtags. Maybe you also signed the contract. Maybe you also, applied to some venues. You can always go back and revisit that information so you're looking at your project page. This is something we'll do in the digital one as well. But you have your picture here, right? Your profile picture. Below it, you'll say, you have not yet registered for the 2023 Hollywood Fringe Festival. You'll see it when you're on your page, I promise. But if you click that, it'll go right back to your application. So you can go in and change your answers. Maybe you've added some new tech ideas and you want to make sure that's in there. So that way, when you apply to venues, your venue is aware that you are really, you want to have a strobe light and want to make sure they have that or whatever that is. So you can always go back and revisit those questions later. So let's talk about those steps if you haven't already. You take your project. Basically, this is how people search for you. It works just like social media. Hashtag comedy, hashtag queer, hashtag fun, hashtag, my personal favorite popular hashtag for a number of years, it might even still be, apocalypse. Because apparently, that's a big genre in Fringe. But play with that and use some that are popular because that's going to be the ones people think of. But also start to define what your show is and how you want to market that because that is going to be helpful in your process. We're going to ask you some basic questions. A lot of them are for your venues. I think it's pretty obvious which are which. The venue ones are going to be specifically like, do you have any conflicts in June? What are your tech needs? Things like that. And those are sent to venues in that venue application when you hit submit to venue or apply to venue. The rest of them are more participant based. We're trying to get the demographics so that we can apply for funding, so that we can put that information in our annual report. We want to know who's participating so that we can best serve. So that information is private. We don't look at it even on an individual level. It goes in, it's pulled as a full data report. So none of that is shared outside of that full data report. So no individual stats there. You apply to venues. So some of you may have already done this. The next page is going to be apply to venues. You can look through, there's I think 15 spaces up right now. More will be added. And you apply to venues that you're interested in. I recommend taking a tour. I recommend reaching out to several that pique your interest. This is going to be another home base for you. So you want to make sure that this is going to really be a good place for your show and that you get along with the team. I mean, I can't imagine not every single venue. We're so lucky to have the absolute best venues. Raise your hand if you're a venue here today. Yes, and it's like every single one of them. It really is a beautiful group. But you got to find that space. If you have a large musical, you're not going to want to be in a tiny black box theater. That's not going to be great for all 11 or 12 musical improvisers. Like that's not going to work. So find that space that's going to fit. And please, don't ghost your venues. I hate that I have to say this, but remember, we talk about professional environments, right? And you're going to meet, LA is a small community. We are all going to see each other again and, work together in some fashion. And maybe, you go to one venue and it wasn't quite the right fit, but you'd been talking to them and you were almost ready to make a deal. And then you see another venue and it's perfect. That's fine. All of our venues love each other. They just want you to find the best space for your show. Well, let them know, hey, sorry, thank you so much again, but I'm going to go with this space. And that way they're not holding space. And it's just the right thing to do. And that way, when their venue is perfect for your show and you go back to them in 3 years, you have a great working relationship. Another bonus at Fringe, you now have multiple venues that you know about, that you will think of right off the cuff when you have a show in mind. So just think about that as you're going through the venue process. Sign the participant contract. We talked a lot about conduct, so I'm going to leave it at that, but that is in there. So make sure you're looking for your participant contract. It protects both us and you. And it's just good business practice to read through a contract before you say, yeah?
Read your venue contract too, please.
Yes,
Yeah.
Yes. And I get that's not fun, right? I mean, it's not like bathtub reading material. It's not fun, but read through it. One of these days, you're going to be so glad you did. And none of us, like, we're not trying to get anything past you. The venues aren't trying to, but it's just good practice to know what is expected of you along the journey. So you signed your contract, and now it's finally time to register, starting February 1st. Yay! So we have multiple types, so make sure this is when you pay the monies, so you want to make sure which type you are. So the first type is going to be paid multiple performance registration. That is the most common, and that is going to be $300. What that means, it's exactly how it sounds. That means you have to charge your tickets, and you are going to do more than one performance during the festival. So if you have 2 performances and are going to charge $15 per ticket, you would be a paid multi-registration category, yes. And then we have one-off shows. This means you're going to do 1 performance and also charge for tickets, and that is going to be $175. That's something like we don't get as often, but certainly maybe someone has a workshop and they would just like to really like get some reviews, get some audience feedback. This is a great opportunity to do a one-off and get that feedback. Then we also have free show. If you are producing multiple shows but are not charging for tickets, and this also happens. So if you just want to produce a show to get the experience, to garner all of these accolades, then you can absolutely do that for a cheaper registration. That one's also going to be only $175. And then we have a workshop. So for $50, you can teach a workshop. The beautiful thing, and I'm going to keep harping on it because I can't help it, but it's the Hollywood Fringe is such a knowledge share. We bring so many talented and experienced artists into the same space, and that means you have so much to share with us, and other people have so much to share with you. And so this workshop portion of our registration really uplifts that and tries to encourage more of that. So for $50, you can run your own workshop, kind of same thing, charge for tickets, be a part of it. You will not be up for awards. We do not have a workshop award at this time. But otherwise, you get the full process. You know, you get to come to all of the events. You get to mingle with the community and make some money with some tickets. And then as a participant, so if you're already doing a show, you can do 1 free workshop. That's included in the price. So if you are paying that, you know, $300 or $175 registration, and you want to teach a workshop in addition to your show, by all means, we welcome that. Just email support@hollywoodfringe.org so we can set up that registration for you.
My favorite workshop was a yoga morning. And I was like, oh, that was so nice. Like, it's so nice. So there's things you can do if you want to make a little bit of scratch during Fringe, and you're like, I have this good stuff.
Yeah, I took an aerial silk workshop many years ago. The person ended up being one of my best friends in the entire world, but that was a workshop that was offered at Fringe. So whatever, like as long as it's appropriate and you have a space to do that workshop, you will need some form of a venue in the Fringe vicinity. So the same rules apply in that way. But anything's game.
It does need to be related to theater.
Well, yeah.
It can't be like,
how to do, well, I don't know, how to do your taxes as an independent artist. I would be so down for that. Like,
also, I'm so sorry to get off
so
topic.
if anyone has that workshop, by all means, please help me with my taxes.
I'm so sorry to go off topic, but I did go to a jerky making workshop at Fringe once. How to dry out vegetables. Yeah, and meet as Mitchell Bishop.
So anything. I mean, I guess that it will come a time where I'll email support. By all means, throw us your ideas within reason. It sounds like you can do.
But I did.
Okay.
Yeah.
Jerky making taxes. The world is your oyster at Fringe. So with that, you have registered. Boom, you paid that money and you were a part of the Fringe. So if you've registered, you have a project page, what could be the one thing you have left to do? Book a venue. So yeah, I'm gonna keep harping on it because it is somehow the last thing that always comes up. We're about to print the guide and people have not quite signed their contracts with their venues. And so you want to just make sure that is constantly on your radar, because even if you register and have all of your stuff done on the Fringe side by April 1st, if you don't have a venue, I cannot put your show in the guide as existing in the ethos of Hollywood Fringe. I need, a location to tell people where to go. So you're going to want to make sure you're starting to finalize venues, and next month, you're going to really want to start to push that through the timeline. That said, with that said, you can register like Ellen said, anytime. You just might not make it into the printed guide. So it's like really April 1st through April 15th is when we're finalizing everything. So we try to allow a little bit of wiggle room, but it gets real hard if you're emailing me as I'm hitting send to the printer, So we just want to, April 1st is the great date to keep in mind.
How much is registration this year?
Oh, $300. So same as, last year. We haven't upped it in a few years. $300 for that paid multi-performance level. So that's going to be the majority of people, $300. And then $175 if you're doing a free show or a one-off show. And then workshops, if you're not a participant, are $50. And then if you are a participant, they're free. That was a voice I used. We're going with that. So that's it. Once you've registered, I think, once you registered this year, you're getting the participant packet. So that's exciting. In the past, it's been a little bit later than this by like a month and a half, 2 months. So once you register, you'll get auto-added to our newsletter. So we'll have a participant newsletter that we'll start sending out closer to May, but that'll be our chance of everything you need to know as a participant. We have you in an email list and we will make sure you get that information. So you'll also get that participant packet in your email receipt. You registered for Fringe, you're gonna get a receipt, and that is going to have a link to your participant packet with all sorts of information that'll be very valuable to you. I think that is it. Should we talk about what's included in registration? Why are we paying this money? That's kind of important. Yeah. So you're gonna get the listing in that printed guide. Hey, printed guide, so pretty. Also, this is this year's, if anyone wants to see that. It's the dummy book for what this year's gonna look like. That's a thing. I didn't know they sent a great little notebook. But yeah, so you'll get listed in the printed guide, and you'll also get discounts on additional ads in the printed guide and on the website. But you do, like with the $300 cost, you do get a listing in the printed guide. You'll be listed on the website, of course. The website sees well over 1 million hits during the festival. So we have a lot of eyeballs on the site, and so that's going to really play in. We also have an iPhone mobile app, so your show will be listed in the app. And I know, Matt, we still don't have the Android. Come on. We gotta have something to work toward, though. You know what I mean, on the tech side. So someday soon, yes, but for now, we do have the iPhone app. We also, so ticket sales come with that, right? Like we talked about, you sell tickets on the website. The iPhone app is also a ticket sales. We also do phone sales, and that's the Fringe team takes care of that. With the phone sales, we also do an in-person box office at Fringe Central. All of that is still going to you, but these are the many avenues that we try to make sure tickets can be purchased by people who want to see your wonderful work. The participant packet is also, of course, included in your registration, and that's going to include, it's basically your how-to Fringe guide. Everything about like tips and tricks on navigating like a successful festival, but also the experience, how to really dive into the experience and know kind of the steps of the processes. That's gonna also include discounts. So we have a lot of discounts that more will be added. So consider it a living doc as well. I don't recommend downloading it right away, maybe closer to May, but we're adding new discounts every day. But right now I know there's discounts on printing, graphic design, photography, videography, marketing opportunities from Combined Art Forums and LAFBI and NoHo Arts District. So there's a lot of, we try to work with our network and our partners to make sure there's discounted opportunities for you in your shows to really get out there. Then we mentioned the discounted ads, so 50% off of both online and printed ads. The online ads are available now, but please do not get them until you're registered because that discount will not come into effect. So wait until you're registered. And then printed guide ads will be on sale starting February 1st, but we will have specs probably the week after, maybe 2 weeks latest. Like I said, just got a dummy book, so we're working through some new specs. I thought that would be a good show. What I
warned you. I was like, I don't think I can see it.
I think I was really excited about it. Is anyone else excited about it? No? Okay, very good. So you'll have that participant support. I don't know.
I love you. I love her.
So support at HollywoodFringe.org, right? Your new lifeline, your best Fringe pal. Like we are here for you along your journey. We've all, like the staff has been doing this. Some of the staff Kevin started as an artist at Fringe and had a very successful run. And so he comes in from a very participant knowledge side. I have been around for 11 years, never having produced as an artist, but I've seen what works and what doesn't work. And we all have such experience. And more importantly, we can point you toward people who have personal experience. One of the things that we do at office hours is, of course, we're there for questions. You might have specific questions about Fringe, the model, or conduct, whatever it is. But you'll also, I have this question about marketing or cross promotion, and we're going to connect you. Oh, your show is a magic show? So is Larry's show. Let's make sure you meet Larry so that you and Larry can talk about your magic and cross promote your work. So that's a part of what happens too. You're going to get, you're going to be qualified to receive awards and opportunities. I think we've mentioned it, a lot of opportunity awards, especially this year. So there's chances that you're not just going to win. I mean, you'll win a trophy from the Hollywood Fringe if you win one of the community awards, but you'll win an opportunity with a lot of the sponsored awards. You'll be able to go off Broadway and produce, the Soho Playhouse, or you'll have extensions through your venue partners that are like some of that are here today. So there's a lot of opportunity that comes with that. You'll get reviews. I can go ahead and say we can guarantee reviews.
Yeah.
Like you will get reviews. As long if you want reviews, you will get them. Nobody has ever left the Fringe without any reviews. For press, you're gonna have to work a little harder for it, I won't lie. But you will still likely get something there.
But I get it. You can leave Fringe with a full quote.
Yeah.
That's pretty much what we're saying.
Yeah.
You'll be able to have that for that next run so that you are able to keep going with your show. Because our ultimate goal is that this is not your end all be all.
Yeah.
It's to keep going.
Yeah. And then of course come back over and over again to try out the new thing that you're going, that happens a lot. And then so marketing on our end, we don't, we talked about market your individual show, but we market the festival at large. You'll see pole signs go up in May. So May and June, we have pole signs all over Los Angeles advertising the Hollywood Fringe Festival. We print thousands of the guide and make sure those get out to hubs and places where tourists are going to come and see shows, and try to get that information out there, as well as digital and print marketing across the board. And then it's fun.
It's so freaking
It's so
fun.
It's summer camp for adults.
It is so you're gonna love it. And I say that knowing that all different types of people love it. All different types of personalities. We all come together, and it's beautiful. I'm gonna. I know.
Yeah.
I think I'm gonna skip some of this. I think we've covered
Yeah,
most of it. So I think we're just gonna go to venues. We'll do questions, and then we'll talk about budgets after questions.
Yeah.
So we have some wonderful venues here today. We have, if you guys want to just kind of give a little spiel about your venue, please feel free, and then I'll jump into other venue stuff.
Yeah, I'm gonna go first.
You're gonna do it. You're taking it.
I got one. So my name's Amber. I run the Zephyr Theater. We're over on Melrose and Gardner, and it's a gorgeous. We have an outdoor courtyard. It's a 3/4 express stage, or in the round, or proscenium. We got options. Although our seating is fixed, I just have many ideas. I love that. So we have 74 seats, but then roughly 50 in the center section. So we got plenty of options. We have some storage. We have a bunch of in-house set pieces, and I have flyers and information if anyone wants them after.
Literal perfect timing, Jen.
I know.
She knew.
Talk about your venues. Go.
Hi, I'm Jen Crafts of the Stage Crafts. It's cute, it's in Las Vegas. And we have 3 venues. We have Studio Stage, which is a block or 2 blocks south of Melrose on Western. We have, which is good for kind of any show, but that if you have a bigger show, if you're an ensemble piece, that's probably of our 3 venues where you want to be. It is pretty big space. It has a curved sight wall with a really great projection space, a high-def projector. So a lot of multimedia shows go there. And then we have Howard Fine Acting Studio, which is on Delancre and Highland. It's actually really right on Highland. It's about blocks out from Delancre. And that is a really intimate, cute venue. It has hardwood floors. It has beams. It's really adorable. That's really great for small shows, little solo shows. It doesn't have a lot of backstage area, so it's simple solo shows, and 2-handers are very good there. And then we also have the brand new Madnani Theater, which is opening tomorrow.
What?
I have an event in there tomorrow for the first time, right? That is, if you're familiar with the Lex Theater, what was formerly the Lex, it's that space. So it's Lexington and McCadden. It's literally right next to the McCadden. It is brand new, completely renovated, 49 seats. It's a very wide space, and it has brand new dressing rooms that are very lush. Has a nice new lobby. Everything is brand new. So, yeah, come check us out. It's thestagecrafts.com. I know.
That's great.
Couldn't time it better.
It was perfect. You walked in. It was great.
I know.
Hi, my name's Matthew Quinn. I'm here with my partner, Berto Rodriguez. We're with Asylum Theater. So we run 6 spaces throughout Hollywood. We've got a full package. If you go to theaterasylum.com or combinedartform.com, you can get the full package with pictures, all that. Just quickly, McAdam Theater, as Jen mentioned, right next door to their new space. 60 feet for large musicals, large cast shows, has a double layered stage. You don't see many of those in LA. So that's a great, large, big space. We run Stephanie Fury. If you have a show that needs furniture, we have a refrigerator for you. Sink, stove, beds, it's all there. People literally walk in and just love that back room. That's Stephanie Fury. Family is a collection of 3 spaces. If you ever been there, we've had some events there for Fringe. It's wonderful, flexible space. Really can handle anything from 20 to 30 seat like solo show to we have rooms that could fill 100 to 200 people. So it's a good space to kind of check for immersive work. A lot of different work comes in. Finally, we have a really unique space called the Wren Theater, which is kind of like almost to an ode to Edinburgh. It's in a shop. It's in an Irish shop. And it's a really cool 40-seat theater. They do a lot of comedy shows there. We're going to concentrate on storytellers, singer-songwriters. It's a very small stage, but we're doing a box office split there. So that's a little slightly different model. If you have something like that or any of these show spaces, please come talk to us. We also run how to produce a Hollywood Fringe show. Berto runs publicity services. You can find all of that on our website. I do have cards, business cards. If you want to swing on by, shake our hand and grab a card, that would be awesome. I think that's really it for now, but other venues here, we all talk to each other and help each other out.
It's so cute.
It's really cute.
But it makes our job very
It's fun.
easy too. It's like there's genuinely community.
Yeah, we want to find the best space for you.
Right. We're gonna call you. If you like something, but you're sure it's not the right show for that, you will see another venue and you'll know how that's good.
And sometimes we'll direct you to another venue.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
You know what would be awesome is the McAdam for you.
Right.
You need 2 floors, or some people will say you need a lot of, projection. You should go to studio
Yeah.
stage. So we're all friends.
We all know.
Amazing.
Oh, sure. It's Theater Asylum ER, the New York City. I look at Amber because we have a thing with this.
Keep trays.
So these are the kind of conversations that we have. But yeah, Theater, Asylum.com. And all this information, the Hollywood Fringe site is amazing. I've done a lot of fringes all over the place, and their site is amazing to get information. Go to the venues, check us all out. A lot of us have videos, tours, the kind of new thing we've learned from study.
And what is that website, Lois, for venues?
HollywoodFringe.org/venues.
Yeah, that's really what you need.
All right.
This is.
Well, for our live stream, I'm going to repeat all of what Matt just said.
Do you want to just come up and?
No, literally, we have the best venues. They have all different price points, all different seating sizes, all different types. We have bars, we have Irish import shops, we have studios with little movable seats, we have immersive spaces. I've been to shows at Hollywood Fringe that were walking tours around Hollywood. I've been to shows in people's apartments that were in the zone. So let's talk about that zone really quick. All shows must be in the Hollywood Fringe zone. That's our requirement. You must provide proof of insurance. Pretty much good. Our zone is pretty much Franklin at the top, Normandy to the east, Rosewood down that way, and Gardner that way. A little bit into East Hollywood, a little bit into West Hollywood, mostly Central Hollywood. It's about 3 square miles. And if you have another space that you're like, oh, gosh, it's perfect, and I have a connection with them and I can get it for cheaper, great, do it. Email support@hollywoodfringe.org to get that started. If you're looking into doing more site-specific work or more immersive work, our secret story time, announcing a panel with No Proscenium, which is a advocacy and informational immersive theater group that will be kind of talking on that with us. So look out in your newsletters for that date. And we also have past immersive panels about how to do site-specific work at Fringe, because that is what's so exciting about being in Hollywood is the weather. You can do things outside. You can do things in a more unpredictable space. We encourage you to keep in mind accessibility whenever you're talking about your venues and whenever you're using found space. You do need to have insurance, and permitting is going to be a thing if you're doing certain areas. Again, if you email us, we'll work with you. We won't give you every single step of the way, but we will help you get tools together.
And something else for anyone joining out of town or who's just not familiar with this neighborhood of Hollywood, safety is also a thing that you must consider if you do a found space venue, because you are essentially now the venue team and the production team for your show if you're bringing a found space, which means you will have to make sure you are ensuring your audience and artist safety in that space. And I say that knowing we've had shows that have taken place on, Hollywood Boulevard or in vans on street corners, but they've always been like by very experienced immersive artists who plan these things out, do test runs, things like that. So all things to consider if you want to do found spaces.
If you want to do found spaces, absolutely come to that event. It will be helpful. And even if you don't, it's really interesting. So we're going to wrap up venues. Again, Hollywood Fringe .org. HollywoodFringe.org/venues. That's where you're going to find the spaces that have been doing Fringe for a long time, that have that kind of built-in infrastructure that you're looking for. And then anything else, email us, support@hollywoodfringe.org, and we'll help you get that together. We've pretty much covered everything else, so we're going to skip it. Questions?
I have some from the chat.
Yes, hi chat.
So we have Merely, pronouns she, her, hers, part of a project called #Don't. And Merely wants to know what the insurance requirement for stage plays are, if you have insurance.
Oh, yeah.
And so it depends on what where you what your venue is. So some of our venues, in fact, most of them have you can be added to their rider. So check with your venue before you do anything. If your venue does require that you bring in separate insurance, because the Hollywood Fringe does need every production to be insured. It's a part of the business. It's liability for all involved. So check with your venue first. And then if you have to come up with your own insurance, which I think is very rare if at all, email support. We'd be happy to make some recommendations on places to go for insurance. But the rule is 1 million liability, which is pretty standard across the board.
Yeah. Alex says part of the online project questionnaire asks for company or similar category, but if you're a one-person show where you don't have a company, should you just use your name or make up a company?
Up to you. If you would like to make up a company under that, you absolutely can. And especially if you're trying to kind of create a brand, it's really for that reason. So whatever you're trying to brand your show under is what you should be writing under your company name. We have a question here.
So just piggybacking on that first question. So we don't need necessarily public liability insurance as a sole trader?
It depends on the space you're in.
But some spaces will do.
A lot of spaces will add you to their rider.
Amazing.
So it'll be a part of the contract with your venue.
Yeah.
So it's always good. And I think venues, that's always a conversation that takes place. Yeah. So yeah. Okay. Yeah.
But then we give you the certificate of insurance. You'll have proof of that. At least in our venue, I assume in others, our insurance rider is also good for our entire billing cycle, which we changed to May specifically for Fringe, which means, yeah.
We're all learning.
Which means if you get an encore, for instance, or if you want to come back in December and do a completely different show, as long as you are the producer, you're still covered.
So the answer is for our people listening from home, check in with your venues. Most venues will work with you to add you to their rider for an additional fee. And then if you cannot do that, then you'll need to provide $1 million liability insurance by yourself. But most people don't do that. That's very rare.
Yeah, and it is standard anywhere. Like I said, email support if you need some contacts. There's several companies that specifically work with independent artists. In fact, I think a lot of the venues use the same, and I am familiar with them as well. We use them. So yeah, like we have resources that we can share with you. But it sounds more daunting than it is, I promise.
Any more questions before we chat money? Let's chat money. So budgeting for Fringe. We are going to have an entire workshop in 2 weeks on this, where we will be talking to specific Hollywood Fringe productions of different sizes about how they've done that. We have sample budgets on our website that we'll be pushing out on social media and through our newsletter in the coming weeks. But if you Google, like literally how I find things, I'm like, Hollywood Fringe, sample budget, you'll find it. They're on our blog. And you can also dig in our blog, but they exist, and we will be sending them out, like I said. So you can take sample budgets from any size if you are like, oh, what should I be thinking about for money? I'm not going to go over that today because it's easier to look at a spreadsheet probably. But what I will go through is like some nice tips and tricks and like what you should be thinking about in terms of like where you're going to be spending your money. It is in our interest that you do well financially, because otherwise, what the hell are you doing? Our whole point is that we want artists to sell through really well. Last year's sell-through rate was really, really good. And we want to just keep increasing that, because the more money you make, the happier we are. We're like, yay, they're successful. We did our job. So how much does it cost to do Fringe? Ranges depend on your choices. So like I said, people have done shows in their apartments. That has different expenses than if they did it at a black box theater. And that has different expenses than if you do it at the Irish Import Shop. And that has different expenses versus where you go. So that's why it is a little bit difficult to talk about an exact budget, because it's going to depend so much on your show. So one of my favorite pieces of advice is be like, I'm going to look through the award winners of Hollywood Fringe 2022 or 2021 or 2019, and I'm going to find the show that is the most similar to mine. I'm going to like copy and paste and do that. I'm going to look at what venue works for them and why, and how that kind of works. I'm going to see why they were so popular. I'm going to kind of take from their marketing tips. And guess what? If you reach out to them, our people are so freaking nice that they will probably be like, oh, I would love to tell you all of this stuff. And literally, like they'll be like, I'll be at this next Fringe event. And then you'll come talk to them and they'll give you like 30 minutes of free advice. People are really nice in this community. People are not afraid to talk about money. People are not afraid to talk about these things.
You can even message them through the site. And if you haven't really like gotten into the site yet, there's a messaging portal. So like if you go to someone's profile page, you can click send a message. And so send a message directly through the Fringe website, almost like Facebook Messenger.
So your registration fee, you've got your 300, you got your 175, your 50, better. But you know, you've got these registration fees you got to put in your budget. You've got to put in your venue rental. Again, massive differences depending on what you're looking for size-wise, what you're looking for as far as amenities. Are you looking for what are you looking for? That's gonna change it, you know. If you're like, I need a very, very, very cheap space, got it. I need a professional, huge like theater. We actually have it. So 300 seats. So you can kind of do pretty much what you need. And you need to contact those venues and start doing that due diligence, asking them about their rates. A lot of them have forms here with them today to be like, this is our rate. Some people don't. It just depends, because everybody, just like you guys, operates differently a little bit with their business. Then you're going to need to talk about production fees. Like, what is going to happen? Like, do you need to pay for a stage manager? What's included with your venue costs? What's not? What are you thinking about in terms of like helping each other out? You're going to need volunteers. If you're not volunteers, how are you going to thank them? Are you going to pay for food? Are you going to pay for gas? Are you not going to, like, what are you doing with your production fees and your artistic fees, basically? What is coming up? What props do you need? What backdrops? I would probably think very little. Most Fringe shows, two little boxes and some chairs, and it's done. You know, that is very common. You do not need to have a huge stage set. That being said, you can. And people break our rules all the time. And I've seen in 15 minutes an entire 3 tent setup with like 4 picnic tables. And they had like this whole camping setup, like you're in the woods, like all these fake trees and like these like lines running across that had like clothes on them. It was like a whole huge production. It looked like a professional production. And they set it up and took it down in 15 minutes. Wow. It is possible. Yeah. It is insane to do that. So you do not have to. So like literally you can do whatever the hell you want, but you have to figure that out now. Because if you don't start figuring that out now, you're not going to be able to budget. And then what we like to say is that you can have your like bare minimum budget. You're like, oh shit, I'm not doing so well at budget. That's what you want to be going off of. And then you can add things once you're like, I sold an ad on the back of my program. Because remember, you can do things like that, and we will go into great detail on how to fundraise in our panel. But you can fundraise. You can sell ads on your little personal program. You can go to local businesses and get food donated for your volunteers. You can start to be your own producer and start to decide, what is my company going to be doing? How is my company going to ask for donations? There's also opportunities to get fiscal sponsorship. If you're like, oh my God, I'm not a nonprofit, but I want people to be able to donate to my show. You can get fiscal sponsorship through something like Fractured Atlas, which is a place where you can get nonprofit status without having to form your own nonprofit. Fractured Atlas, if you want to look that up. And there's a million different ways. And we will go over these like with people who've done it, not me, who's like giving that information secondhand. So I'm gonna skip over most of that. Come to that budgeting and fundraising workshop, super important. Your marketing fees. So you have all your people, you have all your production stuff to put in there, like this is my bare minimum. What are you doing for marketing? Most people for Fringe will need to print postcards or something similar. QR codes are becoming hot though, so you don't have to print anymore. You can do a QR code that you bring around with you if you want to lower your print costs. And you're like, here, people will do business cards often. And then little cutesy little things. Like there's like this one show that I just always think about from last year that had these little piggies. They have like little piggies that were all around and they were so cute. And I've always think about their show because I had my cat plays with one of their piggies as her cat toys though.
So you're selling more cat toys.
Yeah. There's buttons, there's t-shirts. Like what are you gonna want to do? I say if you want to do that, it needs to be like because you like really want to do that, not because you think you have to. Yeah. Like you don't have to do these things, but like if you want to, you can. T-shirts are really common because people will wear them around the Fringe. People will be like, we're a doll. Oh my gosh, I saw you guys had t-shirts when you guys did Fringe in the past. And I remember being like, I knew her show name because she was always wearing her t-shirt. These are smart things to do. And guess what? I'm not going to tell you what to do. A bunch of people are going to be sitting on a stage just like this very soon giving all of this advice. So go to our workshops, get their advice, and then watch through all of our past workshops. Like one of the best advice that I can give is like, while you're making your dinner, you're meal prepping for the week, you have a Hollywood Fringe workshop in the past in the background. You're just chopping your veggies and you're like, it's a great marketing idea, you know? It's like a chill way for you to just, people do that. We all have to like multitask. I'm sure that a lot of you guys have full-time jobs or family members that you're taking care of or things that are going on in your life, and you don't have to always be present. But you can do these things while you're in the car. They're all online, all of it.
I watched Town Hall from last year this morning or heard it, like listened to it that way. Like, oh yeah, that's an important piece we want to keep.
It's so funny. It's like, and it's also like gonna be your process because this morning I did not do that. That's like so outside of my zone of like what I need to prepare. I'm like, I cannot look at it until I'm in the room and then I'll like feel it in my body. And so like literally everything is said except for the comic stuff. Break it.
Take it or leave it. Yeah.
Take it or leave it, break it, be different. Budgeting. Okay, so you want to set your ticket price. So there's a matrix we provide it to you where you can just put in all these things on that budgeting thing. Like I said, we will email it out. I'll email it out. I have all your emails that register. I'll email out the budgeting sheet to y'all. And the same thing for the people that go to the budgeting workshop. But you're going to have set your average ticket price. You're going to have your regular ticket price, which is for anybody who's buying a ticket, period. You're going to have your participant community price or participant price, which is going to be for anybody who's also an artist at Hollywood Fringe that is registered as an artist. They'll be able to get that participant price. And then you'll have your community price, which is, what is the community price?
Same thing.
It's the same thing, right?
Connected, yeah. So the participant price and the community price is the button price, all $1 off.
That's what I thought.
Just
the
only
community
forced discount is the community participant button price.
So the participant one is like, they're already registered, they're a participant. And the community is like, they're maybe buying a ton of Fringe tickets. Like they're buying so many. So they're pretty much the same thing. They just have like a little bit of a difference because they're kind of different people. Your average ticket price is going to be $10. It used to be 12, it dropped back down to 10 because of live streaming and costs. Like live stream tickets tend to be really cheap because people are not really willing to pay for live stream. Like they're gonna pay $5 for live stream, whereas they would pay $10 to come see it in person. So if you are considering doing live stream, that's something you want to consider is setting that price lower. So you're gonna set your ticket prices. You can set your ticket prices different for each performance too. So a lot of people will have a cheaper preview show, and then they'll have their more expensive regular shows, and they'll kind of increase the price as the time goes on. You can change your prices. It's pretty fluid. What I would not suggest doing is changing your price after the guide has gone out, because to something higher. You can change it to be lower. But if somebody's like in the guide looking through and they're like, oh my God, it's a $15 show. Then they go to this site and they're like, 25. It's gonna probably turn them off from doing it, unless you're selling out. And then you might want to do that because you're selling out so freaking hard that you don't need that guide. You know what I mean?
Let people pay that money.
Like I said, all of these rules meant to be broken. You're just gonna have to be like, where am I at? What is my best decision? We're just giving like general things. So your capacity of your house. So how you're gonna think about your nightly gross, which is like how much money you make. You're gonna think about your capacity. You're gonna think about your ticket price of that night. So it could be different. And then you're gonna think about your sell-through rate.
What was that?
Your sell-through rate. So your sell-through rate is gonna be how much you can expect to sell. And it's not 100%. No. You even if you have a sold-out show, it is not 100% because you're gonna have award people who are coming to see your show. You're gonna have an industry. You're gonna have moms. You're not gonna make mom pay for a ticket unless. You know,
I'm sorry, Mom.
you're gonna have your GoFundMe people who donated to your GoFundMe that you're not charging tickets for. So remember that often you're not gonna charge tickets for some people. So we suggest a 40% sell-through rate. Because then you get to be pleasantly surprised when you hit the average of 60. Budget at 40, you're gonna probably hit 60. You know what I mean? If you're doing your job right, you'll hit that 60. Do not budget at it. Do not. Yeah. Budget at 40. That's your sell-through rate. So, like I said, your nightly gross is gonna be your capacity times your ticket price times your sell-through rate, which is 40%, so 0.4 nightly gross. That's how much money you're gonna make. And you're gonna be like, woo! Then your nightly gross times or plus each other. Because like if you're doing the same rate for all your performances, you can just put times 3. But if you're like, I'm doing different things, you're gonna be like, this one's 400, this one's 300. You're gonna add them all together, plus your donated income. So anything you're doing for fundraising, anything you're doing like, hey, family members, I'm doing this thing of what I've been wanting to do for my whole life, and it's so amazing. Please help me. And then they'll be like, yay! Or maybe it'll be like, hey, colleagues, I've been trying to do this show for a really long time. You're gonna be doing all of these things. I know you. You guys are all gonna be doing this.
Some of us will.
I mean, unless you got
Not
that
giving
money.
discounts over here.
And then that will be your donated income. So you'll have your nightly gross times number of performances. You'll have your donated income, and that is going to be your total gross, the amount of money you can expect to make. You're going to fill in your gaps with fundraising. Do a Kickstarter, do an Indiegogo, a GoFundMe, whatever works for you. But start to ask people to support you. Go to those businesses. Literally, there's this one woman from 2017, Sophie Kahn. She bought the back page of the Fringe Guide and then sold it to a restaurant. So sold the advertising space. So like the top half was her show and the bottom half was the restaurant, so that they paid for the ad, which meant that she got the back page of the guide without paying a cent.
Yeah.
She's a genius.
Yeah.
Like, you need to be smart. You are
So
going
don't take advantage of others.
You guys all have like, I see you guys are all like here and passionate about your projects. And people really like to give money to passionate people, especially right now. They don't want to give money to a huge corporation. They're going to know exactly where their money's going if they're giving to you. Tell them that. Get them excited about you. Yeah, anyway. Marketing. We'll give you tools, of course. But it's your responsibility to fill those seats. If you have 0 people in the audience, we're not going to promise you an audience. It's not happening.
We can't.
It's just not possible. You have to be out and about and meeting people and naturally fill that audience. If you never show up to a Fringe event, you never go to anything, you never market your show, you're not going to sell more than 1 or 2 tickets per show. Period.
Unless you have an outside audience, you have to consider that too going in. Do you have people? Do you have a built-in audience that comes to your shows every time you produce here in Los Angeles? Like, add that in, but you can't factor in that the entire Fringe Festival is going to see your show.
So start it now. Start when you're asking these questions. Be like, hello, this is my show. This is my brand. This is who I am. It'll really help people to connect with you, and then they'll be able to do it. Cross-promote with each other. Find people who are similar to you. Be like, oh my God, we both have shows about pigs. And then you guys, it has happened. And then you get to make these little piggies together. I want more cat toys. But yes, start it early. So let's talk a little bit about marketing costs, just so that you can kind of think about that. Flyers, if you want to do that, you must include the Hollywood Fringe logo if you end up doing a flyer. And you probably should, because it gives it some validity. And we have different colors and we have different sizes available at hollywoodfringe.org/branding. It is not required. But it is not required for you to do a flyer. You do not have to do it. We really encourage that if you don't feel like that's how you're going to sell your tickets, don't do it. But a lot of people do them. They're like business cards, though. Do not print 1,000 flyers and then put them on dashboards and put them on and like throw them like away like candy. It's like awful. It's awful. My biggest freaking pet peeve is when we have office hours and I just see like people like throwing their cards all over the tables and not talking to anybody. Hate it. It's not how you're gonna make money. It's a waste of your money. You're basically throwing them in the trash.
And not getting any tickets sold.
You use them as a business card. You're like, my show is Little Women and blah 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 blah. What's your show? Done. Also don't go up to people being like, this is my show. Bye. Like you have to like develop relationships. You have to learn to be a producer. You are a producer. You are not just an artist anymore. You are learning how to sell your work, how to make little pitches, how to become an amazing business person. Ad buys. You can totally buy ads on our stuff. You can also buy ads anywhere else. People will often do social media ads. I don't recommend that you take out an ad in the LA Times. Like that's probably not going to be worth your money. That's something that we barely do, because it's expensive. It's expensive and print ads are kind of dirt. In that way, but you know what I mean. I'm honest. I'm sorry. But you know what I mean. Like
there go all of our print sponsors.
all of our thousands.
Yeah.
But here's the truth. It's like if you're sitting there and you're like, this is good. This is my audience. I really connect with people who are reading the LA Times because they're reading on social issues, and this is like an issue that is really going to hit that audience. Great, more power to you. Most people are like, I'm doing a drunk history about the Bible, and you're like, that's probably not going to go well on an LA Times ad. You know what I mean? So just think about your audience and take out ads in places that actually make sense to you. Social networking, using our hashtag HFF23. Please start doing that. Follow us. Start tagging, being like, I'm at a Hollywood Fringe event, and we'll repost you. Start to when you're at a venue, be like, I'm at this venue, and they'll repost you. Start to think about your social networking as a part of kind of your brand. How are you going to kind of interact with the community? There's been so many people that have done so well. I think of the Ramon show from last year. Ruby has this drag character called Ramon, and Ramon has his own Instagram, and just everywhere was Ramon doing little things, and it really sold. And they ended up winning.
They did a car wrap.
Yeah. They did a car wrap where they wrapped the Ramon show on their car because their partner is does that for a living and was able to do it for them.
And then parked in front of the opening night party.
And
Absolutely fucking genius.
Shout out to closing night as everyone was entering in the car that was grabbed.
And they ended up winning Best Immersive because they had such a presence where it was like everybody knew who Ramon was. Yeah. And you're gonna have to figure out what your buzzword is. You're gonna have to figure out I have a more serious show. It is but there was Fertile Heather Dowling show was so serious a few years ago, but you knew because her branding was so on point. You knew that it was a Fertile branded thing because you were handed it. It had the same color, the same fontscape, the same ethos too. She's also a very warm person. She talked to you before she handed you her things. It's very simple if you think about it. You just gotta be authentic. You can make a blog for your show. You can make a website. You could make a website for yourself. I would highly recommend that you're Google searchable if you're trying to be a producer. You should probably have some things out there about yourself. You should probably start to think about how to develop your professional brand. Network. Show up. You did it today. Oh my God. And it's so
And
fucking
you too.
hard.
I think we're 35, 60 people today. Yeah, incredible.
I bet you some of you are so tired, wiping off the sleep of the week, and you're here and you're showing up and you're doing it. So that's half the battle. Oh my gosh. Press plan. Figure out a press plan. We'll be talking about that plenty. Know your audience. And we have so many workshops. Like I said, I'm going to stop talking because we have so many workshops coming up. But these are all just really important things to start to put into your budget. You need to buy that website. You need to do these things. I don't know. What's your journey?
Yeah, because we've seen everything work, literally everything. It just depends on what's right for your show and your message.
I think people who like hate using social media and like never use social media for their shows, they'll have their show. So like you don't have to take all of these things, but you have to figure out what's going to work for you. And it should be something that you've already done a little bit before.
Questions?
Have you ever, I'm sure people have, done suggested donations for their ticket?
Yeah.
How does that balance with the registration fee? If it's a show that could be free, but people are making donations, how does that?
One moment. This was a recent change. Pay what you can. We are saying that is fine with the 175 level. So if it is a free show in theory, pay what you can. However, I want to make it clear here though, if we find out you are pushing, like it has to be a genuine pay what you can. If they pay zero, they pay zero.
You can't put a suggested donation if it's
that's
a
the
free
difference.
show. So you can put a pay what you can where it's 0.000 and they enter in whatever number they want.
Totally fine.
That's totally fine, but you can't be like, and my suggested donation is $16.
Yeah.
That's not a suggested donation.
Yes.
Yeah. Question here.
Yeah, hi, I'm Johnny.
Hi.
I've been to government show for 5 years of my life.
Yeah.
And, regarding to this, I'm an international student, so I can't pay money here. But can I do pay what you can?
That gets a little trickier. Especially.
I think with anybody international, it's so tricky. Let's talk about it and figure out, because there's definitely ways, like if you're working with your venue, you can get ticket sales and then get reimbursed for costs and things like that. So anybody with an international working thing where they're like, I need to figure out what to do with my thing. There's certain venues that do this a lot. And we can talk to you afterwards about your options. You will need to be under the international competition unless you want that visa. But there's ways that you then don't have to like be like, and now my ticket sales go to nothing. You know, you can figure out ways to kind of work that out.
Yeah, a lot of it. Yeah, it's either think about it as reimbursement or like, without a work visa, you cannot accept ticket. I mean, you cannot work and receive money, right, without that work visa. But you can compete under international competition, and that's working without payment. But you could potentially be reimbursed for cost of production, and that'll be like a receipt exchange, things like that. Yes.
So through ticket sales, is it possible to do a coupon thing where you can offer 2 for 1 or discount prices?
Yeah. And we'll go through a lot of the details on how that works. But yes, so 2 for 1 is not something that is currently possible on the site, but discount codes, absolutely. You can do, you can make up, you could have 15 different discount codes for one performance if you wanted to. Because people like to feel special, right? Like I would love to get discount code, I love Lois, me, and now I'm gonna go because I feel like I have to, you love me. But use those, and so make sure like you're using them and using them thoughtfully, but yeah, use them as many as you want, or use as many as you want.
Is 15 the max then? Is 15 the max for discount codes that you can add?
50?
15.
How many? It's how many codes?
Oh,
we've never had somebody hit a limit, so
Yeah.
I don't know how many.
I'm saying,
Have you hit a limit?
No.
I think
If anyone will.
I think like if you hit a limit, please let us know you're a case study. And we can
Yeah,
have that
definitely.
with you.
What about comps? Is there a limit for the,
No, you could potentially give out every seat if you wanted to.
and will we also be charged $2.50 for?
No, so free tickets are free on our site. If there is no charge for the ticket, if you're not donations are different because money is exchanged. Right, how service fees work is there is a processing fee and therefore we have to charge. But if it is a free ticket, nobody exchanged money, there's no service fee at all. And I will say, and expect comps because you guys are gonna all get to know each other. That is just the very nature. And no, you don't have to give away tickets by any means. This is my fun. I'm sorry, it's my bit now. So like you do not have to give away tickets, but you're going to want to because you're going to want to see each other's show. So it's a give get, right? So now maybe you're giving away a ticket, but you're not having to buy one to a show that you really want to see either. So know that comps are going to be a thing in all of your lives. It's just what it is. It's a great question. I don't know who came first. We'll get to all of them.
All right, so 2, and I'm not sure this is in the right chapter, but one is, have you had union shows come through, and is that something that?
Yeah, union is difficult, and I think it's so dependent on your like specific show. We do have like a whole article on like how to do union work and like who to contact, and then also with AB5, like how you need to pay people out to be legal. That being said, chat with us after. It's so dependent on your show and your like you need to and you need to talk to the union if you want to go through that, and then
talk to your venue as well. They can probably give you some guidance and different ways that outside of Fringe it's usually handled, and that will help guide you for how to handle it in Fringe.
Yeah, I will note in the participant packet there is a section with a link to the contracts you're going to need if you are bringing in union actors and what those rules are. So we link that in the participant packet. That way you have the basic. Like we'll never give you, especially when it's legal stuff like this, we won't tell you what to do, but we'll try to make the resources easily available.
Yeah.
So that is in there. But I will note that the laws for live stream there was a contract in place for like SAG-AFTRA and Equity with live stream for union actors. That contract did end. I don't know, like, so that's also something you'll need to look into as a union performer.
For someone who's sort of new to the festival, but I've seen a lot of the festival, it feels to me like there's a structure to a festival show. Like it needs to be 65 minutes or less. Is that true or not?
No, that's a great question though. So no, you can do, I mean, if you wanted to do a 6-hour show, we are not gonna stop you. You shouldn't do a 6-hour show. Unless, I mean, my God, what a cool bit where you just like, you know, sleep over in the bed. I don't know, like there's no rules, you can do what you want. There was a sleepover, but actually slept over. But hey, we're into it, whatever. But as long, I recommend under an hour. Because people are your audience, it's considering your audience, right? People are going from show to show. So if you're looking, I might see 8 shows on a Saturday, and it's going to be a lot easier to fit in an under an hour show or a 45-minute show. Ooh, that is a beautiful little snippet.
I saw a 20-minute show
yeah.
every year. It's so great, and I always can like fit it in. I will also say that it's so dependent on you. Like if you are coming in with a whole audience and you're so sure you can sell out your 90-minute show, great. If you don't have that, probably don't do 90 minutes. Probably do under an hour. It's going to be a lot easier for people to come judge you for awards. It's going to be a lot easier for people to come give you reviews. People who buy multiple tickets without meeting people typically won't take a risk on something that's 90 minutes unless they really know you. So I would say it's really typical to do under 60 minutes, and don't lie about your time.
No.
You know your venue will be annoying.
Majority of stuff in the air.
Your venues will be annoying. The artists that are on either side of you will be annoyed, and that's not a good look because you want those people to be like, God, that show is so good. I'm gonna talk about their show when I talk to my audience.
Yeah, as opposed to I'm late for my next show. I mean, I know for a fact there have been awards that were missed because somebody who was in the show judging an award missed the next show they were supposed to go see, and that show did not get an award because they don't stick to time. How can they get an extension contract and trust that show says they're 45 minutes, but it went an hour and 10. That now screwed over multiple shows.
And I'm talking to the minute. I'm talking, you say you're a 55-minute show, you are not a 56-minute show. You are a 55-minute show. Jen?
Real quick, check your venue contract about time. I don't know about other venues, I know in all 3 of our venues, in our contract, it says, if you go 5 minutes over, we reserve the right to stop your show, turn on all the lights, and usher your audience out. Now guess what, we've never had to do that.
But just test her.
Yeah, but like we will. But it's and if you do, don't worry, we'll never have to do it again. You'll change it. But that is something though that like we will definitely check in with you and be very like helpful about in your tech and in your dress rehearsal. So I've definitely had shows where I've had to say, hey, you know what? You're gonna need to cut 5 minutes or talk faster, you know. And one of those things will happen, and it's fine.
Or hire Lois.
Oh God.
If you want somebody to talk faster, we know.
Right. Also, we also for venues, we get a lot of questions about intermission. Let me tell you, you do not want to allow your audience to lift their butts off the seats because they will slow down your show. They do not need an intermission for a 90-minute show. They'll be fine.
There's no need for an intermission.
Wouldn't recommend longer than a 90-minute show in Fringe. It's just not what the Fringe community as a whole is used to. And I think Fringe is about debuting pieces of your work. So if you want to do a longer show, debut part of it in Fringe, debut the first act, debut snippets of it so that then you can get review, adjust it, and take it on and do a full show outside of Fringe where you can have an intermission, you can have all these things, but on average,
While all that is true, I would just add, Fringe has been hinted is about breaking rules. Every year, I think there's a 2-hour show.
Oh, at least,
And absolutely, but it's just be aware of it and prepare and upfront with your venues and everything.
And we're gonna go to this question over here, and then we have a question over here.
So Paul K. Smith on the live stream wants to know, will the Fringe help market your show-related merchandise?
No, unfortunately. That said, though, we do have Fringe Central. We do have a program where we work because we run a bar. So we'll announce this closer too. But if your merchandise are like show printed napkins or something that is related to something we would already use, we absolutely welcome that. That's not gonna so we'll advertise in that way, right? We'll work in kind essentially with your product, and we'll put information out as we get closer to June. But that would be the way to do it. And the postcards at Fringe Central, yes, of course, thank you, Carly. And yeah, you'll be able to drop off your postcards at Fringe Central and bring them to office hours, and talk to your venues about if you can leave your postcards there. So there's other ways in that, yeah.
Question over here.
Hi, my name is Peter. He, him pronouns. We're doing Red Curtain Play, which is the first half is a bunch of sad monologues shuffled up. Imagine John Cage. When you said flyers, is that postcards as well as anything like sort of your material? Okay. And then Fringe Central, is it in the same location? Where is it?
Yes. Our Fringe Central this year is announced. What? Usually we announce it like a week before, but a month before. But we are going to be at 905 Cole, and all of our scholarship performances will be there. And so it'll be at 905 Cole. We'll have our bar out there, and then that'll also be where our cabarets happen. So we have those like promotional events. They'll also happen at Fringe Central. We're super excited. It's an outdoor space. It's an outdoor bar. So it'll be so cute. It was so fun. We played so much cornhole. It was great.
And we have the allergy-free ones this time. Last year I discovered I was allergic to cornhole after playing cornhole every day of Fringe. That went well. Where my eyes always red.
Now we have beans.
Yeah. I'm the cornhole champion, so come on by.
Anybody else have some questions before we wrap up? Yeah.
Hey, Rebecca O'Brien. My show is getting there. I'm standing there up here. Standing here. You kind of quickly said a lot of stuff there at the end in my brain. Is anybody really doing a show inside their apartment?
Yeah.
Not this year.
Not this year yet. I mean, but you can. But in the past, it was crazy. It was like an apartment show where you went and walked through her apartment to have the experience of her show. And then there's another one where we sat and had coffee at her apartment. There's been shows where people have been like, here's the door that you get into the car. And obviously you need contracts and liability stuff with your audience when you do that. But you got in the car and you drove to another location. You went and had church service. And then you got back into the car and then you went back into another space.
That was the one the SWAT was called, right? Because it looked too real.
Yeah, it looked too real.
There's stories there too. Yeah.
And there's been
just scares, yeah.
Sets that have been inside of vans that have been just parked on street corners where you would go inside the van and have that interactive experience. There's been people have rented out something like Amelia or other similarly able to be moved around spaces like the studios that were being talked about, where you can kind of move around chairs and create this more movable experience that you typically don't have to have as much of a load in, load out time with not with Amelia, but with other ones too. People have you can work out your deals to do what you want, to do these site specific work. And if you want to do it, highly recommend going to the panel about it because there will be a lot of info there.
Okay, just to tag onto that,
Yeah.
being said, can you just do a live stream show from your kitchen?
Unfortunately, no.
Okay.
Yeah.
You did that before, but that was
we did in 2021. So the year we came back after, the year we won't talk about. We did have that option, and primarily because when we opened registration, we didn't know we could have an in-person audience. That year was all about just providing some form of opportunity for artists to continue to perform and do what they do. We are keeping the simultaneous live stream element, So if you are producing in the zone and doing your show live to an in-person audience, you can also live stream at the same time. That is entirely your call, and you can do that for one show, all of your shows, or none of your shows. It is entirely up to the individual production. The biggest reason we did not, just so you know, we didn't do the live stream only category like we did in the past, is it's not financially feasible for you. We looked at the data, we looked at what was done, and it works great as an additional resource or as an additional audience like chance.
Yeah.
But we knew better, and we don't ever want to create a category just to for you to fail. We never want to do that, and so that's why we don't have the live stream only option.
One last question.
Yeah.
Okay, so you have a simple show, you have your little blocks.
Yeah.
And you want to maybe do it at 2 or 3 different theaters. Is that just completely stupid choice?
It's expensive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you're gonna have to pay insurance and check.
Oh, okay, never mind. See, nobody else has to answer
That's-
stupid question.
No, there's no such thing as a stupid
but
question.
that being said, there have been like site-specific immersive works where they've like had different tracks for different days. And that's in that immersive world, right? Where you can like be like, okay, we're gonna always have the same starting location, but we're gonna change around how the show works. Like there's that kind of thing, but that's so specific to site-specific work. If you wanted to do that, you'd have to do an immersive show,
Also,
which would be
it's
a
not a
different
silly
thing.
question, it gets asked every single year. Just to specify.
Yeah.
Yeah, every year.
Yeah.
Are the, I mean, because I feel like immersive shows, the ticket prices are much in a different range.
They are.
Yes.
They
Do you have a
typically
range for those here, or-
They typically are a much more expensive ticket just because they are usually smaller audiences, which means that they can sell 5 tickets to that to about 20 would be the max that I've ever been in an audience in an immersion show. So they typically have to charge higher prices. And there's just a different market for immersive. It's definitely, it's just different.
And it costs more to produce, like more often than not, because we're talking right liability and safety, and like there's a lot of components to the actors and the artists that are working in immersive that are not the same as your one-man, show in a theater that is fully equipped with other people working it. Maybe you have actors who are working on street corners or things. Like there's just so much more money that goes into play as well, so you have to charge more.
If you've never done an immersive show before, I would highly recommend renting out an established venue, working in like a more non-traditional way of that venue before starting to do like street performance.
Yes.
There's just, you have so much to learn before you begin that journey. So if that's something you're thinking of, there are like more movable spaces that are fringe venues that you can use to have that same effect without the liability.
Potentially a parking lot of a venue that currently exists, where you still have the stability of being in a space. Studio, there's several of our venues have great parking lots or big lobby areas. Like there's ways to work in an established space where you have that support, but still have a little bit of the weird.
I love that we ran over.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
like the first rule of Fringe is like don't run over.
So easy.
And we're 30 minutes over.
So let's just go through real quick. And
Yeah.
then, because we all remember the coffee shop next door is open, the Hudson Lobby, where they're doing 10% off if you were here with Fringe.
And we'll talk to you. We'll be
Yeah.
here for the next like half hour talking with y'all, making friends. After
Really
we
quick.
clean up.
Yeah, so we just want to tell you why. You know what? That's it.
That's it.
Yeah.
We love you.
Welcome to the family.
Bye, friends. Thanks so much for joining us on live stream.
Okay.
What?